this. Is there anything you want the fans to know or any last thing you want to say to them before we get to see this series tonight?
This is where the fun begins.
Hold on. Okay.
Hey everyone, Jenna Mike here, and I'm back with another video. Today, we're going to be going over two big things that happened last week. We've had the Marvels, the new Marvel Studios film that came out last Friday, and also we got the season finale and possibly series finale of Loki. Jay King, how you doing?
I'm doing all right and ready to get this discussion over with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Before we get started, make sure you guys hit subscribe button, comment, like, and share, and make sure you hit notification bell, so you won't be up to date. So you guys will be up to date on any uploads that will be coming out in this channel. Thank you guys for your feedback as well. Comments and everything, recent videos and stuff like that. Really appreciate it and greatly appreciate it though. But yeah, the first thing we're going to be starting off with is with the finale of Loki season 2, and with all of this now being the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that goes into our segment, What's New Within the MCU. Yep. So we've gotten the final episode of Loki season 2, y'all. This is the 6-episode arc of this season, and come with a drastic conclusion, but maybe possibly not an ending to Loki as a character, but definitely the story that they were trying to tell. There was a lot of things in this episode that was really impactful, a lot of things to digest, and even then also just some things to just process too. It's like at my first viewing of this episode, I was kind of just confused for a moment. Not saying that nothing was bad, it was just that for the moment it was not I was just kind of not saying in shock, just more of just trying to process what did I just see. And definitely was a well shot show. Definitely was, the acting was phenomenal. But the concepts that they were doing, I was still trying to grasp on what they were trying to do. But they delivered. They delivered in terms of what they were trying to do. But yeah, I for one, just saying that this is just by far one of the easily, especially after this episode, the best Marvel Disney Plus shows out there. If not the best Marvel Disney Plus show out there. With this of adding Loki season 1 and also Loki season 2. And I wanted to ask Jay King again, what was your thoughts? Just not also begin before we get into the details of this episode, and you can recap it. But like, what was your thoughts on the overall season so far?
I mean, as you said, like this is the best that Marvel has been in a hot minute. Like this is some of the best content that they've had. And it's a shame that, you compare the viewers from season 1 to the viewers of season 2. There's still a lot of viewers, but it's not as much as it was. You can blame that. You can, give that to, how the MCU has been recently. But this show, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can see you now. Yeah, you're good.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, that was weird. Um, but like the way that the show has just been so good. Character writing, sets, like tangible sets, the consequences that this brings, not only for the wider MCU, but just for Loki as a character. His journey of going from, like, basically going from the god who did not care about a single being like he was back in the first Thor and first Avengers film, to probably even greater than the Loki that we saw at the end of Ragnarok slash beginning of Infinity War. Like this is prime Loki right here. Like the storyline for him, for Sylvie, for Mobius, for OB, for Hunter B-15, for everyone has just been so good. And I gotta give it to the directors, the writers, everyone involved in this show just pulled an immense and incredible story here. And like, yes, I saw what you said before. This should be the standard. This should be for the standard for how these shows are. Like for how these shows are, like bringing that quality that we know the MCU can be and bringing it to these shows. It doesn't matter what the show is. Bring this to the show. But yeah, I just enjoyed the heck out of this series. This is so good.
Mhm. Yeah, that I really again, this is also one of the best character arcs that Marvel's ever done. Really has done with in terms of their characters, especially when we talk about the movies or shows. This show
Mhm.
delivers in all cylinders. And and the concepts they do in the show. Again, even though to the greater MCU, I wish the writing and the depth they take, just with this one single character, is able to translate to the movies. But what they do, as they are, moving forward with, concluding his arc and actually in this episode recapping famous moments from season one and just coming all full circle, like a clock, like time, and stuff. Time has a history of repeating itself, and we see this, and and also, just messages about life too. Especially, we've known this character since 2011. When I think when the actor Tom Hiddleston, he was 29. Now he's like 42 or something like that. But again, this is the whole thing of like when they start out with Loki saying, I am Loki of Asgard and I'm burdened with glorious purpose. And then now we kind of seen that from, just coming in full circle. Especially the title of this episode is Glorious Purpose, and then the first episode, the
So
top
was Glorious Purpose, yeah.
was Glorious Purpose. So
Full circle moment. An OB of itself.
yeah, right. And again, I think Marvel really, this is the part of the Marvel Studios that I remember in terms of how they not only take care of this character, but again, the building off of the foundation they built from the previous movies and able to expand this character in a way that I didn't think was actually possible, especially with this time with Marvel. And they do it and they deliver, and the way that they actually are able to, give this a satisfying conclusion, whether they want to say it or not. I felt, again, it left me wanting still more, but also just confusion of just like, okay, what is the overall drastic effects of this show to the greater MCU? And yeah, and that's really what I was kind of expecting when they uh for this finale, especially even the movies leading up to, when we're getting to this Secret Wars or Kang Dynasty or arc and stuff like, or multiversal arc, that where is it all going to? But then this has just changed the whole concept of the multiverse and what we already know now. So again, yeah, I think again this beautifully shot. The best. This was by far my favorite episode of this series for me. Obviously gets the conclusion, but two, it's like the just when even when they were going back in previous shots from season one, still like
Mhm.
some of the shots look way better. In
Mhm.
terms of the cinematography of it, the lighting and everything. So again, it's just like this stuff should have been a freaking movie, So, but yeah, but I'll leave it at that. But JK, if you want to, just recap, just go on this episode, you can.
Mhm. And I'm just gonna also say it's sad that a lot of people who haven't been watching, again, a lot, as I said, the viewers from season one are not, some of them are not there in season two, and it's gonna be crazy because it's like, especially given the ending, a lot of people are not gonna know when we get to like the two movies that would but most likely bring more people back, which will be the next Avengers films. But yeah, so as we of course know, Loki now being able to control his time slipping goes right back to the ending minutes of episode 4 when Victor Timely went into the temporal aura, you know, uh, onto the launch pad and disintegrated. And it was basically the start of him learning, okay, now that I have control over this, what did we do wrong and how do I fix this? Going through loop and loop and loop of doing it over and over and over again, seeing the differences of how even the smallest thing could just lead to Victor Timely's death and the entire multiverse imploding. And he went through so much just to figure out how it would work, even learning the type of science that people like Casey and OB only knew. This man was like reciting it like it was just like that. And again, that's how much dedication this man put into it. I like the last thing I was expecting was for them to be going back and forth, like trying to change it the smallest thing. And he kept going until he finally made it perfect. Like he tried so many things, trying to do it differently, going faster, going earlier, grabbing him when missed minutes and them had taken him, grabbing him when they just brought him into the TVA after the events of episode 3. Like just trying whatever he can to do it differently. And the dedication for Loki to do that. But yeah, so it works, but then it doesn't work because you can't you can't contain infinity. He Who Remains Death led to the multiverse growing into infinitude, and it's, as I said, it's like dividing by zero. You can't counter for something like that. So instead, Loki's like, okay, so in order to make that not happen, he instead goes back to the finale of of season 1 to stop Sylvie from killing He Who Remains, meaning we get Jonathan Majors to play He Who Remains again after playing Victor Timely for the most part and then playing Kang in Quantumania. Um, Basically trying to stop that. And then it leads to a whole conversation between him and He Who Remains. And heck, the way Loki plays his cards, it even gets He Who Remains to stop the whole showman act that we saw him in within the ending of season 1. And he was actually just speaking like a normal person. Again, this show just had a lot. Do you want me to keep going, or do you want to just recap the whole thing right now?
Yeah, because then it's like that way I can jump point moments of it because
Hmm.
I just want to get to the whole gist of it, and then we see what's going on, and then we can kind of get to our best parts of it, and also dissecting that. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, after, so they have the talk, and he's like, he talks about like, Victor said it was this, but honestly, it's not like that. The loom was a fail safe for if he did die, so that way the multiverse could implode, the war would happen, the TVA could get rebuilt, he'd be reincarnated, be right back exactly where it was. It's just that that version of the TVA will be collateral damage that he can redo. Loki, however, is not going to have that because it doesn't matter. They are still people. They are still his friends, his newfound family, and he's not going to let that happen. This man has even learned how to stop time. So he figured, okay, if that's how we're going to do it, then I'm going to do it differently. But first, he went to go talk to Mobius and Sylvie at different points. He went to go talk to Mobius back in episode 1 when they were in the time theater when he was showing him his life right before that moment to ask him like how do you make a choice like that, and he even discussed how he had to make a choice like that but he couldn't, and it was Ravonna back when she was a time
Uh,
not a timekeeper. What?
when she just basically wanted TVA agents.
Yeah, when she was a TVA agent, like, she had to end up doing it for him, but it's like, as he said, there are some burdens that, you just have to bear. You don't wanna be the person who messes up because you don't take, that burden on. And then he goes to talk to Sylvie, just to make sure, like, should I do this or should I stop? Like, have that whole conversation. And, she brings up the point where it's like, you're replacing one hell for a different one, as someone who's been through hiding in apocalypses, you know, you can make something new even out of something broken. And that was enough for Loki to be like, okay, I know exactly what I need to do. He heads right back once again to where Victor Timely would have died, but he takes his place. Like, he doesn't even go out there with the suit or the multiplier. He just closes the door, tells them he knows exactly the type of god he needs to be for his friends, goes out there in the temporal radiation, and as it's ripping himself apart, he reforms in a new Loki. Again, it's very much kind of like Wanda at the end of WandaVision, where new suit Loki, god of stories, and this man like destroys the loom. The entire multiverse branches are dying. This man grabs all of them, goes to the remains of He Who Remains Citadel, and revitalizes the multiverse, even making it resemble the world tree of Asgardian myth. When you pan out and you see that the big branch where Loki is, and then the multiverse as the tree, that was like, yeah. But yeah, so Loki literally just saved the entire multiverse and allowed it to live and branch out and grow healthy. This man literally saved so many universes within that move, and it looked good. Like, the entire time, like the new suits with, the new horns, it all looked so good. Like, and then he took He Who Remains throne, the gold Kensuke paint going over it, just like how it is on his horns, and just like how you would see over He Who Remains Citadel, creating his throne. Like, this man didn't want the throne, but it made me go back to Odin's first words in the first Thor movie, where he was like, one must not want it, but one must always be ready. And this was Loki's time. And whether he knew it or not, this was the throne that he was always meant for, the god of stories, the new guardian of the multiverse, if you will. And then we see how the TVA is doing now. It's not destroyed, not reset. Everyone's fine. They rebooted Miss Minutes, but they don't know if she's going to kill them. So I guess that's still some A threat lingering out there. They're tracking down all the He Who Remains variants, even referencing Quantumania and saying how, the MCU's main timeline, Earth 616 adjacent, already took care of Kang. At least that version of Kang. So at least they're fine, at least for now. And then Mobius is like, he leaves the TVA. I'm not necessarily certain where he's like. Yeah, we see him see his old timeline, though there is a version of him that's there with his kids. And Sylvie even goes, to see him and make sure that he's okay before she leaves to, I guess, go back to the life that she built. But I'm curious, like, where Mobius is. Like, he's left the TVA. I mean, he could go back whenever he wants, but it's like, he left the TVA, but it's not like he can just take the life that he used to have because there's one version of him already there. So it's like, what is he going to do? Is he going to just roam the multiverse? Is he going to go looking for Loki? I don't know. But the season ends with Loki looking at all the branches, looking at his friends, the revitalized multiverse, now guarding it. He was afraid of being alone, but he's okay with that as long as his friends are safe, and that's how the series ends. No post credit scene, no setting up for anything else, just ends right there with the credits. Also, I should also bring up how the Marvel Studios logo and the ending were kind of backwards, which is funny, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah, because with that, there's a lot of things to digesting that and unpacking with that. For one, obviously, shout out to Tom Hiddleston, basically, his performance throughout this entire episode. But what they were doing was a vast way of setting up the multiverse in a new way. In terms of branches, now we see as a circular thing. Now it's a tree, which also the tree of tree of life, whatever, from Odin of representing the 9 realms, also has significance to the first Thor movie when we saw Thor. So Thor and Loki. So again, it was all connecting into one full complete story. And this back here to me, and I emphasize this, is the writing of the characters that I want to see in the films that I feel like we have not been getting. And yes, you already have a pre-established character, but again, you also have these derivative of these characters like Mobius, like Sylvie, that were great additions to the show. But again, and possibly in ways that can come back, so be it. But also, there's also a bow. They just tie a knot on that story, and they can just leave it be if they want to. But again, there's many moments I want to go into. I want to start off with the one. There's a few moments, but the very moment I really want to talk about is that conversation he had with Mobius from episode 1. Because episode 1 was when Mobius was just trying to simply just trying to find out what makes Loki ticks, right? What makes a Loki want to kill and be basically crave for this power, right? And that's basically what he was saying, is that it's all an illusion, is a cruel, elaborate trick conjured by the weak to inspire fear. That line. But then he goes back as he's time slipping. He asking, saying, "How do you choose which timelines get destroyed?" And he said, "No, we don't get to choose as timekeepers, but like, what is it?" It's like, well, it's a burden for us to actually prune these branches, but we know if we don't do it, then chaos will happen, right? And into his line, his famous line, "I am Loki of Asgard, and I am burdened with a glorious purpose." And then with Mobius, the one line that really got me with the episode, that sometimes purpose is more burden than glory, right? And that to me was very powerful. Again, it's like, whether just that in our own lives that we can think about in terms of our dreams, what we want to do, and then when we actually achieve the very thing we want, it actually might be a burden than actually glory and self gratification of it, right? And it's kind of the beauty of that, because again, he always wanted to be on the throne and have his, because he said he was a god, right? And then now the fact that he is finally have his throne, but it's saying it's such an emotional burden, because he now know that he's not doing the throne from a selfless act. He's from a selfish act. He's doing it from a selfless act now, in terms of with protecting his friends and people he care about. Because again, he also grasping the fear that he didn't want to be alone, and which is a very realistic fear that most of us have, right? But at the end, he actually grabs that fear, and come to terms that even though I might be alone, at least the people that I love and I care about are safe. And then that is his glorious purpose. And we see something similar with that with the classic Loki from season 1, when he sacrificed himself, creating new Asgard, or the fake Asgard, and he went out calling, yelling glorious purpose. So there definitely is a cycle that that all like Loki's basically kind of go through in terms of their character arc and stuff. Now, again, if it's the last of Loki, we don't know, but we shall see. But again, I
Yeah, like I mean, Tom Hiddleston said this is definitely a conclusion to his like 14-year journey, but he said, "Don't think that means Loki's done." Like, it's like this is definitely a bookend, but it's not the end for him. Like, we'll definitely see him again, especially given what he just did. We'll definitely see him again.
Yeah, and also that the whole goal, and at least this is confirmed by the producers and stuff, that we want to get Loki and Thor reunited together, right? And I know that's where definitely are trying to build up, and I hope they build off to that. Could that be one of the one great reunion now? Just seeing the arc that Loki has now.
Hmm.
Again, I will say it would be kind of weird that well, not say weird that it's that Loki is having a better character arc right now than Thor, which is unfortunate. But again,
Hmm.
in the movies, we know for a fact that they're going to be doing um, or at least they're in development of Thor 5 and stuff. But and we'll get into it in terms of the whole longevity of the MCU and stuff like that. But again, I say shout out to that. But I think like hopefully this is not the end of Loki, at least because especially if it's setting up that he is the center of the multiverse right now. Obviously, when Avengers Secret Wars or King Dynasty, that he has to come full circle with that, and those can be his conclusion because again, it's also going to be leading into the soft reboot that we all been hearing rumors about and stuff,
Mhm.
and he earned it,
Oh, yeah, he
and
definitely earned it. But, yeah, like, I can like, again, as I said, he definitely has to come back. Like, heck, I can even see him, like, I don't like, for those who know about the 2015 Secret Wars story, I can see him kind of playing the role Molecule Man did, given just how much kinda connection there is, but he's definitely going to be important. Like, if there is going to be an end to Tom Hiddleston's Loki, it'll most likely be Secret Wars. Just given everything, it'll most likely be Secret Wars.
yeah, and especially right now, again, with current reports about how they can be changing away from Kang and going to another possible character, such as like Doctor Doom. But regardless of getting into that, but yeah, that's like there's definitely the implications of Loki coming back into the MCU in either Avengers Kang Dynasty. And there's another scene I want to shout out was that entire scene with Jonathan Majors and Loki. That was a very powerful scene. Definitely,
Mhm.
saying that now the student has become the master in some form, right? Saying
Mhm.
that hey, you think that you are following your little little schemes, and
You
who you
you
think
think you think you're sticking it up to the man, break the system?
right, and then I like because I was kind of putting off to my wait, what he doesn't have the accent, from uh from season one. And I was like, how this continuity? I'm like, well, is that just an act or whatever? And it's him just just fooling around with them. But no, but
Mhm.
then all of a sudden, like, he going there, it's like, oh yeah, you know who tell me who you're with Victor Timely,
Timely.
like you're having issues with a temporal loom,
Boom, boom.
right? Right, and then stuff like that, and then Loki responding saying like, yeah, timely says a problem. He said, say it's a problem. Problem, yeah, there's no
No, no.
problem,
Right.
right? You know,
Mhm.
and say that the whole thing about the temporal loom is that it's supposed to the fail safe and and supposed to prune out the existing branches not supposed to be there and to keep the sacred timeline, right? Stuff, right? Um, and again, and then the really the big scene for me was when the moment where he's like, "Listen, know how to like stop time," and then he brought Sylvie back, and then all of a sudden he's just like, "And what makes you think this is the
For
uh
this is the
time we had
first
this
time we've had
conversation?"
this conversation.
Right? And it's like, there you go. And that, again, great. Listen, love Jonathan Majors and stuff like that. His just performance and everything, but that to me was really good. And yeah, I kept rewatching that. That was just a great conversation. But I, it just again, I just want this crap to be in the movies and have some implications, and stuff like that. That's just really just frustrating to me. But because this is great, filmmaking, great storytelling, and then is on Disney Plus show that a certain percentage of the audience are not going to watch,
Mhm.
and so
Especially because they don't advertise it.
well, right. Not even with that advertising it, but also not even fully connecting it to the movies when you're saying, well, yeah, you don't have to watch all of it, but at the same time, you do have to watch all of it to understand the movies, which we'll get into in our next topic. But yeah, um, but before we get into that, I also want to talk about with uh the arc that Loki was doing in terms of him retaining the knowledge of centuries, right? He had his whole Groundhog's Day thing, which he went through over thousands, if not millions of times, and stuff like that, which then increases the level of wisdom and intellect. Now, I did have some negatives about it, but that's only because of just like, okay, like not that and like the outcome, it just the jump point to that outcome I had an issue with. Like, for example, like, okay, all of a sudden now Loki, you just know how to just walk out of the into a temporal loom with no protective gear and just I know you're a magic user, but then and then just and now you can just touch time branches, and stuff just like that, and not really explain like how do we jump to that point. It's okay, all right, and you're just following it. Um,
I like to attribute it. I think when it comes to that, I just like to attribute that to like the time slipping. Like, I just like to attribute it to that because it's like as soon as he started stopping time, there's just some things that wouldn't affect him anymore.
yeah, and I went with that again. I was just What this show solidifies to me, again, it's just that even then we had I had issues with in terms of the logic, because again, that was more like, oh, how is someone simple like my wife or someone else going to watch the show and understand what's going on, right? And I said this, when you confuse me, there's a problem, right? When you confuse like people like us, there's an issue. It's like, it's not that the concept that you have is confusing, is the way that you are translating that to the audience is not in a compelling way, and also not in an understanding way where they're able to connect plot points to make the whole story sense of being convoluted. That's what I was like when I was calling you during that time, that last weekend. That's where I was coming from. Not that it was a bad episode. It was just that I was just seeing him like, okay, I feel it, but like, how do we get to this point, and what was going on? We're just jumping to, him just immediately going into the end of time, when last time I remember you had to get pruned, and then you had to go through a lot Goliath and then everything, and then other than if you didn't have the temporal aura, which I guess because he time slips and now he can do it, I guess. Yeah, again, just him just having those abilities and stuff like that. Like, okay,
I
and
mean,
that's
like
what we're doing now.
I attribute that because it's like, obviously the sacred timeline, you see it outside of his citadel. So I'm not surprised that, you know, at some point around where the loom was would be an easier access to get to what is the remains of the old citadel. So it's like
Mm.
I didn't it didn't like not make sense to me in that sense.
Mm. Yeah, and again, Loki, but regardless of that, Loki is still the best developed character I think right now in the MCU currently right now. There's no wow hesitation, wow hyperbole. This is the best written character to have right now. They did have it with Scarlet Witch, and then and this is the thing. I'll say this is
Yeah, yeah,
negative.
the best written character alive at this moment.
And that's again, that goes to one of my negatives too, because now it's like, all right, you build up this character to a point to reach this high plateau, and now all of a sudden now you benched him. It's like you bench both, like you bench Loki, because obviously you have to be in the center of the multiverse to hold these branches together, and then you bench Scarlet Witch because then you in the canon she apparently she's dead, but yet we're reaching
Yeah,
the arc of
dead.
her character. Her
Dead for
character,
now.
right? Exactly, but just saying that we have not seen her in since 2021, right?
Yes, no, since
And
last year with Multiverse of Madness.
right. So it's with that again, it causes a lot of some complications with that to me, in my opinion, where I'm like, these are your best well-developed characters, and now you just bench them to a point where now it's like, okay, we just miss opportunities to go through it now. But aside from that, anything other like negatives that you had with this episode that you felt they could improve upon, or anything, or just now plot points to kind of set up in the beginning of the season and they really didn't kind of tie up?
I mean, not really. I mean, I think the only thing really is just Ravonna, if I have to say, because again, like the only time we see her within this finale, I mean, obviously she got pruned, but it's like she's back in there, and then we see her at the end. Like I didn't even mention this, like at the end, waking up in the void. We even see that it used to be an old TVA place and is about to get attacked by Eliath. I don't think she's gonna die because she's taken on Eliath before and survived, but it's like, not a lot happened with her this season outside of the stuff that happened in episode 3.
Yeah, I will say that is a negative in my opinion with that, because again they could have tied her up in terms of like with King specifically, and now it's like I guess also with that timeline and not um I don't know what's going on with Victor Timely, the King variant now, because if he went if he went there to the Temple of Loom and everything, and then but you still have a King variant, what do? You just brought him back to his timeline, but then now it's like we saw at the end that now Victor Timely as a kid, he didn't have the book thrown into his house anymore, so now he's just a candle maker and not the becoming he remains and everything like that now. So that Kane variant just living his life, whatever. But then Ron Renslayer as a character is so much tied to Kang as as being a love interest and everything. And I felt that not they hinted at it, but it didn't really flush right through it in the right in a full way, to a point where it's like, hey, this is a character that is associated and needed in the Kang storyline, especially in the comics. Like she's have a way important role in the comics than she does now. just what related to Kang. But I don't know if they just want to change it from not being a romantic relationship and just go away from that. I don't know, but I think it's a poor decision because that's part of Kang.
The only way I can see them somewhat reconciling that is either the Kang that disappeared in Ant-Man 3 or a different version. She ends up meeting them after, I guess, surviving Goliath, and that's the one she falls in love with. Like after somewhat falling in love with one with Victor Timely, like one saves her, helps her out, and then something starts there. That's the only way I could see them doing that. Because again,
But
I don't think
also,
she's gonna be dead, but yeah.
right, but also I don't think she's dead, and especially with Goliath, or Goliath, whatever, was basically was the creature that she used to end the multiversal war. She was leading the he remains army. But then at the end, you also get quick shot pyramids, right?
Mhm.
Before they cut away, to seeing Goliath, approaching her and stuff, and
Yeah.
with any type of Egyptian pyramid, at least related to King, that's tied to like Ramatut,
From a tut. Mhm.
which we've seen, which I've also been petitioning that should be the villain for Fantastic Four, because the whole storyline when they went back in time, dealt with him, they came back and stuff like that. But uh
Hell,
yeah,
like you can even attribute that to why we haven't seen the Fantastic Four. Like they happened a long time ago, but then kind of like Cap disappeared.
right. But yeah, I just think that with the Ramatut character, and I'm definitely, I don't think that was a coincidence that we saw pyramids, there,
Mhm.
because that's another side to King's storyline that we haven't seen.
Mhm.
And But again, it's like I, I didn't have no like yes, I had issues with it. It's just more of just okay, where you like what's leading up to this, and that makes sense of like you teasing it in the right way, right? Because in the
Mhm.
comics, again, we've seen Ramatut. And Mortis. Well, not I guess now in this case, not the Scarlet Satyrian, but a just a Satyrian, whatever.
Who knows?
And,
Who knows? Maybe he'll be Scarlet the next time we see him, or maybe that'll be a different version.
right, and but yeah, but again, uh, there's many different versions of this character. Hold on a second, let me get this. Trying to pull up this image right here.
Mhm.
And because again, like even then, uh Loki basically said it, or well, Kang said it that hey, my variants are out there. Well,
Mhm.
I will stop them. There's too many. There's too many of them, but I'll find them. It's like you
Mhm.
can't stop them. It's like, well, I'll try. It's like I bet you will, champ. We see Victor Timely. We see I believe um is it not Nathaniel Richards or who's the
I mean,
businessman?
oh, well, no, the businessman, that's like an entirely different. I mean, that is Kang, but like that's an entirely different identity. I can't remember it, but that's the one who in the comics and all different Avengers. That actually that one right there. That's the one who ends up buying Avengers Tower, which a lot of people think that might be the one who owns it right now.
Right. And yeah, but you see Kane the Conqueror, you see Iron Lad, you see the Ramatut right there, you see the Mortis, which we've seen, and also that
And
version
Kid
of
Immortus.
the Scarlet Satyrian, who's on the top right there. But yeah, you also
Mhm.
see Victor Timely. Well, these are my yeah, Kang was a white man in the comics name, if you guys didn't know. But anyway, but yeah, but anything, I just want to know what your last thoughts on the on Loki before we get into the next one.
I mean, again, my thoughts are still the same. Like this is the best that the MCU has had so far within like Phase 4 and Phase 5. Again, as I've said, we've had a lot of hits when it comes to the MCU, the likes of No Way Home, Shang-Chi, Wakanda Forever, WandaVision. Um, but it's like, consistently, especially in terms of like some that have had some of continuations like WandaVision and Doctor Strange 2, this has been consistently like just the greatest that it has been. And again, it's sad that people who haven't watched any of the series or have watched only a select few of the series after deciding, you know what, I don't need to see all of these, like unless they are like, yeah, definitely I need to see Loki, they won't know. They won't know what Loki sacrificed. Like how many other characters in the MCU won't know unless he goes and tells them, which he definitely can. Um like a lot of fans won't know. Like yes, us diehard fans will be there for all of the movies and series to hope that things get better and we'll know about these stories, but some of the casuals who maybe don't know about the stories that are on Disney Plus or stopped after some of them won't know what this man sacrificed. But yeah, overall, I very much love this series. I This is definitely one of the MCU series that I definitely will revisit at some point. Maybe getting closer to King Dynasty or closer to like unless they either King Dynasty or unless they announce something next Comic Con. But it's like this is definitely one I'm going to be revisiting. Tom Hiddleston, you killed it, and again, everyone on board, Owen Wilson, Ke Huy Quan, everyone on cast, you did, and everyone on crew, you and the writers, you did like a fantastic, like this is good. Like to quote you know who, cinema. Like this is actually cinema. I'm not joking. This is cinema.
Yeah, definitely. I said it before, and I say again that with all this stuff going on with Marvel and especially also with Disney Plus shows, I can give Crown definitely that Loki definitely is the standard for what Disney Plus shows are supposed to be in terms of characters, and Loki is the GOAT currently right now. He's the GOAT.
Yeah, not yeah. Again,
Yep.
not the screaming goat. He is the goat, not the screaming one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, not the other one. But anyway, aside from that, again, this is way better than the arc that Thor's going through right now. But hopefully, he can get out of the GOAT phase and go into a better storyline.
Just don't put Taika on the fifth film. Just don't put Taika
Yeah.
on the fifth film. Get
Shout out to
someone.
Thor: Love and Thunder. Horrible film.
Yeah,
Um.
don't get Taika on the fifth film. Get somebody else that wants to tell a good story. Hell, get the Loki writers to tell it, and we're good.
Yep. Yep. All right, but yeah, that concludes in terms of our review of Loki episode 6 or the finale and our overall thoughts on the overall season. But let us know in the comment section down below if you guys enjoyed Loki. If you didn't, or you actually, I've been seeing some mixed feelings in the comment sections and stuff. Please give us your feedback in the comment section down below, and also leave a like while you're at it. All right, y'all. We're going to have a little short break before we get into the main heavy hitter. So like that, I think you guys are really looking forward to this one. But until next time, we'll be back in just a moment.
I'm Miss Minutes, and it's my job to catch you up, so let's not waste another minute. Settle in, sharpen your pencils, and check this out.
And we're back. Higher, farther, faster. Right?
What?
That's what you call it?
No. Higher,
higher,
further,
faster.
faster, together.
Together. Oh, okay. All right, gotcha. What the slogan is. Yes, we're right here to talk about the Marvels, and now you can see our public back and forth with this. Now, I first saw the film, I had my opinions about it. I posted on my channel, my review, but now this is gonna be my first time me and Jay King going back and forth with it because I had some of my thoughts kind of revised. We're still have my opinions on it. But definitely when I saw the second time with my wife and in the regular movie going audience, that I actually saw this film a different time and I would raise my score a little bit higher, but not by that much. I still had issues, but again, I think there's something that people, whether you love it or hate it, definitely there's something. This film is a lot to talk about. But again, unlike me, a lot of people on the internet have
emotional damage.
Like, it's just a film with just female characters and stuff like that. But hey, we don't know what might get to people. But I'll say, start with you, Jay King. What was your thoughts? Did you like the Marvel? Yes or no?
Yes.
serious?
Oh man, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, what's your thoughts on the Marvels before I give my thoughts and everything, J King? Yeah.
Okay. Now, as I said last time, before I go just into what I thought, as I said last time, I knew that there, like, again, as the last Marvel film until next year's one Marvel film. Um, Look, as I said before, I knew a lot of people were not looking forward to this. I knew a lot of people wish that this entire thing got the Thanos snap treatment, got eviscerated, never happened, either because they didn't like Captain Marvel, which we know who you are, or they just didn't want to see a story led by three female characters. Because apparently we can't have a female led anything without it just immediately being like slated as woke these days.
Oh.
But hey, like that's that internet. Y'all go have fun over there. I'm actually gonna be freaking civil and be giving an honest fucking view, but that's just me. But
Mhm.
as I said, I enjoyed the film. Not the greatest. I wasn't expecting this thing to reinvent the wheel. I wasn't expecting this to reinvent like or bring light back to the Marvel universe. Because again, this is a film that's had a lot of problems production wise, and this is a film that has had some and there's a lot of people that like most people would say yes, they definitely came from Monica Rambeau, and for those who actually watched Miss Marvel and didn't just scribe it off as four kids of MCU, actually know that it's a good story. Um, but again, like for me, as I said, I'm one of the few people that didn't hate Captain Marvel when it came out. I liked Monica Rambeau and WandaVision. I had a blast with the Mon Villani's Miss Marvel series last year. And I was excited to see these characters back along with Samuel Jackson, who definitely needed to win me back after Secret Invasion. But as I could say, like, this film was a good one. It's not the greatest. It has its issues, but it's still a good film.
My
It's
drink.
not unwatchable. And I know there's one moment that Mike would disagree on the unwatchable part, but other than that little instance, and with it being a shorter runtime and us really going fast with the story, I enjoyed it. I had my fun with it. I think that Miss Marvel was definitely the big highlight of the. Again, in terms of the highlights of the film, Miss Marvel, Monica. You cut away at the wrong time. um, in terms of the highlights of this film, Miss Marvel, Monica, Nick Fury, and Carol Danvers. I didn't actually hate Carol Danvers within this film, but there's still a lot of stuff that needs to be worked when it comes to the MCU's version of her. But yeah, that's my list when it comes to that. Kamala killed it. Monica killed it. Samuel Jackson acting like Nick Fury, that the Nick Fury that we missed in Secret Invasion. Carol, not bad. I definitely liked her, even more in this film, but there was still a lot that needed to be done. And the villain, while I understand their motivation and I'm not against it, especially given what we learned in this film, it could have been better. The performance was fine, but it could have been better. That's all I'll say. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. It looked good, you know, for the most part. It looked good. And yeah, that ending scene was like a lot, but it was a lot of good. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. I gave it an overall like 8 out of 10 because again, it's not the greatest, but it's not terrible. It's watchable. You can have fun with it, and there are characters that you can connect with it. It's just not the greatest thing ever, and that's okay. Doesn't need to be.
Mhm.
But okay.
But yeah, this is my thoughts on it. First, and I still believe it. And after watching a second time, this film again, I said my review is very disjointed. I felt there were certain scenes in this film that did not need to be there at all, and And yes, we have to understand that with the last few, the magic of the MCU is gone. And at least, and you might have moments of to remind you of it of that, but there are the whole general sense that the next Marvel movie is supposed to be an event movie. The next time you go see it in theater, now that the general public, audience and stuff now is saying, no, we can wait for these movies to go on Disney Plus, and honestly, that's the case because with this movie, it felt like Miss Marvel season 2, which could have been on Disney Plus show. Even though we had our show came out last year. But yeah, again, aside from that, there's just things that we're not adding up. Especially again with the biggest issue that with Kevin Feige talking about of having Disney Plus shows.
Sorry, sorry. It's just something that just came to me
What's up?
that's something that just came to my mind. This is like the second like series to movie that has gotten us a character like fast. Because again, before then it was the in between of WandaVision and Doctor Strange. Now it's Miss Marvel and the Marvels, and yet there are so many other characters that we haven't seen yet in like the last 1 or 2 years now. Like this is the second instance of that. I just realized that. Like
Yeah. So
it's only been a year.
yeah, and with that, again, that this film has went through many different delays, but this is the first Marvel movie directed by a black woman, right? Nita Koska, right? This is now there was opportunity for another a black woman to direct Marvel movie, which was Black Panther, with Ava DuVernay, but she walked away from that project. And what was going on with this film was what the issues with that is that you're not going to make a movie that Marvel doesn't want to make, or should I say, what Kevin Feige doesn't want to make, right? There's much as we complain about other studios like DC and Warner Brothers and other properties who have studio interference in their movies. Kevin Feige been doing the same thing through all of his Marvel movies, but the fact that the difference was back in the day prior to Endgame, it worked. But now what you're seeing now, the issue is that again things are not being as connective. Nor as being well established as it was before. But as I'm going back to this movie, again, I said in my review, love Monica and Rambeau. Shout out to black women. Love Mon Vellani. Mon Vellani as Miss Marvel is the best part of this film. But when I first saw it and when the second time I saw it. And again, their Miss Marvel show was good as a character. Just the fact that nobody watched her show. And it came out in the worst time possible last year between coming out of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Homelander. Also, you had Stranger Things season 4, part 2. And so yeah, it was coming out at the worst time possible. And
Yeah, and when he means Homelander, he meant the boys.
yes, right, and the boys. And um but with this film again, definitely very forgettable villain as always. Shout out to Loki. His wife. And I don't even think the performance of anything was bad. It was just the fact that she just the writing of the character was just kind of just generic. And we first start out with this film, I felt that this movie it was missing either another Disney Plus show or another movie to connect from between this movie and the Captain Marvel, the first one, because there's a lot of things going with Carol Danvers because it is supposed to be her sequel, right? And there's whole thing with her being called this Annihilator, and now going back and basically destroying the Supreme Intelligence and basically leading the planet of the Kree Hala down to just devastation and everything for the
For
last 30 years.
30 years, yeah. For 30 years, like literally after the events of the first Captain Marvel film, for 30 years, meaning throughout the entirety of the MCU, from where it started to now, they haven't been in the best place because of her.
Yeah, and but with that again, I just felt that was kind of just missing, just like some connective scenes to actually just make the character motivation from the villain standpoint just be more great, and also just the significance of what she did. Because again, she's been gone for a period of time. We've been told that, oh yeah, I've been helping other people, but then yet you were destroying people's civilizations and their resources and stuff like that because you said you were freeing them. That sounds like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
villain to me.
more like freeing the Skrulls and freeing a musical world, but outside of that, basically, yeah.
But yeah, but again, with the character specifically, the issue I have was starting out with number one was with Brie Larson's Captain Marvel. Unfortunately, at this point, they not made me really attached to this character. In her not her own movie, not in the sequel, and not in her recent cameos in Avengers movies and other stuff like that. And I don't even think that's a detriment to the actress Brie Larson, because she's definitely one of the best actresses within Marvel. They have her now. She's Academy Award winning
Mhm.
actress. So there's nothing about saying that she can't act. It's the fact that
It's
whether
just the writing.
the writing of the character, because what's going on with the issue with this movie too is that yes, we have online people don't like wokeness and everything, and yes, some messaging and stuff could have part to play in terms of showing certain things that are going on with Marvel right now. But regardless of that, there is such thing as when you just don't know how to write a female character, because what's going on with I think with Brie Larson is the same thing what happened the precursor to Ray Skywalker in the Star Wars sequel trilogy, is the fact that you made her very strong and OP in the first movie, and now in this movie made her very weak. And what happened is that you probably listen to certain fandom that really either that don't understand character development or just don't like to see a female character have exemplify strength or whatever. But regardless of that, we've seen female characters like Sarah Connor, like other characters, Sigourney Weaver in the Alien movie. So it's not we've seen Hunger
Mhm.
Games. There's nothing saying that we don't enjoy or female characters, but when they're written well and when they're written well and they're able to also convey, in terms of just their character development throughout the course of their own movie and their story, whatever they're trying to tell, then we're able to resonate as an audience. And all you have to do is just, haters can be hating, whatever. But that's not what issue with
Mhm.
this film for me personally. And especially again, also the relationship with Monica and with and Carol,
Carol.
because
Mhm.
there was the whole thing about her that she left, Monica when she was a little girl and stuff, and then she just didn't come back until after the blip happened, and she saw her mom, but then her mom was going through the second stage of her cancer coming back, and then she passed away. But she missed that. So there's the whole
Mhm.
rift. Even WandaVision was hinted at that, that Monica didn't really like Captain Marvel right now. Understandable, but and again, Monica Rambeau, Tiana Paris does a great job in this movie. She definitely does add the emotional weight in this film where parts are lacking. But and again, and you keep hearing a lot of reviews and stuff. Monica Rambeau and Ma Vellani are the best parts of this movie. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, it's unfortunate that the last thing I'm saying good about this movie is supposed to be the title character. Now, I understand that it's called The Marvels. I understand that it's showing all of them, and each of them have either been called Captain Marvel or Don the
Or
Marvel
a
name.
Marvel, yeah, or a Marvel something, but even with that, this is still technically the sequel to the first Captain Marvel film of 2019. Like, regardless if this is an ensemble film, it's still technically her film. So it's like, well, everyone's supposed to get equal stuff. She should have probably the most, and she doesn't.
Right. And beginning, but with that, there's also like a lot of things that they're juggling with also the connectivity of Disney Plus shows like WandaVision, like Miss Marvel, and recently with Secret Invasion. And
Mhm.
and that to me, I feel like as a negative too, because there's some issues, and we're gonna get into it. That their connectivity just made no point. Why I had to watch that particularly one of the shows, and really wasted my time. Be honest with
True,
you.
because
Um, well, well,
outside of yeah, because like outside of like that scroll leader we see in this film who was referenced in Secret Invasion, outside of that, nothing else is Secret Invasion. Like, you literally could, like, Nick Fury just went right back to where he was. So it's like, outside of that one reference to that one scroll leader, Secret Invasion doesn't have like a lot going on. Like, yes, you could maybe say, you know, how exactly is it okay for like the scrolls to go to Earth with Valkyrie and all
yes,
that, especially with the way the world is now to aliens and extraterrestrial beings. But you know, I like, for people who see who didn't see Secret Invasion, they're like, yeah, they'll be fine. But for those who did, we're like, but wait, are they gonna be okay?
yeah.
Like,
Well, before we even get to that, I just say what just again. I know we just hinted some more positive in. What's like another positive in this film that you felt before we kind of get into other things that we probably like or dislike, and what we agree or disagree. Um,
okay, I'll say, for the most part, as I said, like, for the most part, just like the action was good. I'll say that. Like, the action, especially between like the three main leads and whatever villains they were taking on, being that be that Kree or the main villain Darben. The action was pretty enjoyable, especially with them working off of one another, especially with each of them shifting from where the other is. Like that opening scene where not opening scene, but like that first like big scene where it's like they're switching in between Nick Fury being on a ship coming back down to Earth and Kamala being in her home and Carol being at the Kree homeworld, trying to stop it. Like there's just the switching and how each of them takes on the whole situation, especially Kamala's reaction to Goose and Flurk and stuff. That was definitely a highlight again. The fighting and some of the interactions within this film were definitely a highlight for me, and just how they bounced off of one another.
Mhm. Yeah, I definitely agree with you that I do believe like the action to me was the best part. So one of the good things, but the movie, especially the first 20 minutes, the scene of them fighting in the house and switching their powers, to me, that's one of the best scenes in the movie, like action wise. Choreography was great. I felt the visual effects was good for the most part, especially like when we see the opening shot of Carol and as she's getting out of the ship before she gets the whole situation of the film. And yeah, I thought the visual effects was good for the most part. And the fight scenes and everything. Definitely enjoyed not only just Miss Marvel, but also the family dynamic as well. Having her family come in there again, like they
Hmm.
were really adding the entertaining aspect of the film, and making this look more watchable, in my opinion. But again, that I felt that Miss Marvel definitely and their family were the heart of this film, and
Hmm.
definitely again before we get into when we leave space and go into that, we definitely see that again. There, those moments to me weren't really they were forced or beating me over the head as much, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Um,
Should
but
should
yeah,
we also should we also like recap like the story, because like we've talked about it in like bits and pieces, but should we like recap it just in case like
I'll
people
go.
forget anything?
I'll do it briefly for you, and I'm gonna make sure quick because it's only an hour 40 some minutes in this damn movie.
Hmm.
But so basically, what's going on is that we meet this the villain Darben and everything that she's basically has this new hammer from Ronan the Accuser, and she's now leader
Hmm.
of the Kree army, whatever. Now Ronan the Accuser, you don't know he was a villain in Guardians of the Galaxy. He was also in Captain Marvel, even though it was technically a prequel. But
Hmm.
he had the hammer, which had the Power Stone, and that's why he was able to use that. Now, why? What power is powering that her hammer for some reason? And she don't have the Power Stone, but yet it's purple. I don't know. Again,
And granted, remember this is not exactly Ronan's hammer. Like, yes, it's the same type. It even has the same name, even though they do reference the comic book name. But this is not the same hammer that had the Infinity Stone. That one got destroyed in Guardians One, so it's not the exact same one. You can't say Infinity Stone stuff that was left behind. It's not that.
yeah, yeah, and then again, this another male character in the comics that they switch and they change. They've done that several times in the MCU. But they and also she's in search for the second bangle from Miss Marvel, because we know that there were two. They just couldn't find the other one, but we know that the fact that this film they were able to find the second bangle, and now that she's able to have that along with the hammer. Now, what
Hmm.
happens is that now, basically, Monica Rambeau is working with Saber, which is a new space station associated with Sword, um,
Hmm.
and uh, but she's basically working for with Nick Fury. Carol Danvers gets basically a distress call in this jump points in space, while Miss Marvel is where we left her off in her season finale. Is that she gets the
Yeah, the post
angle
credit
and
scene.
lights up, and all of a sudden the powers start to entangle and they switch places. So
Hmm.
Monica is on that other planet, whatever, or moon, and then uh, Carol is in Kamala Khan's bedroom, and then Kamala Khan is in space and stuff, and then
Hmm.
runs into Nick Fury, and that's when we get the start of all this situational things going on, and then we see that now they're all in the fight, with the Kree right now, but they're going in three different jump points and stuff, trying to figure out what's going on. Eventually, as they get into the situation after a whole big fight sequence of them switching powers, now they decided that they're actually going to go and find this character Darben and where she's going to be going next, right? And basically, her goal is basically trying to steal resources from other planets, because her planet of Hala has been
Hmm.
destroyed because of Captain Marvel, which why she's called the Annihilator in this movie.
Yeah, because
But
she destroyed the supreme, like the supreme intelligence that we saw in the first film. Well, technically saw, but we finally see what it actually looks like in the first film. Eviscerated it, and also kind of just
I
f
see
up
you,
their whole.
Lucas. By the way,
Yeah.
yeah, we can get to the recap. I'm dropping a link. Um,
Mm. But
um, but yeah, but after that, we basically get to now they're going into this other planet, um, and where the Kree is currently in now. Not the Kree, the Skrulls. So we heard from Secret Invasion. There's another faction of Skrulls, with another colony on a different planet, and basically they're trying to establish a peace treaty with the character Darben, the villain, right here. And what you see now is that they're basically going back and forth and saying that if you don't side with me, then we're just going to steal or strip your atmosphere, which they end up doing. And Captain Marvel shows up, and she basically used that as a way to say Captain Marvel's the reason why I'm destroying your planet. So now the atmosphere is being sucked up, and now Skrulls just taking L's in this movie, as they've been taking L's in this whole freaking cinematic universe. And
mm-hmm,
and now basically, they're trying to save as many people as they can. Kamala Khan is starting to save people, but she's getting geek out because she's with Captain Marvel and everything.
mm-hmm,
And But then they were able to only get a portion of scrolls um, from that planet and everything. And Kamala is just trying to save as many people as she could, but she can't save everybody, which is one of the tropes of
mm-hmm.
being a hero. And she's basically getting some tough love from Carol Danvers and stuff. And then all of a sudden, they're taking the remaining scrolls, and now we basically get our first cameo in the movie, which is Valkyrie. Valkyrie,
Valkyrie.
the homegirl or king of Asgard right now, is
Mm-hmm.
basically got beamed up there by the Bifrost to take the remaining scrolls to planet Earth. Now, mind you, there's a whole situation because of Secret Invasion where extraterrestrial beings are somewhat banned from planet Earth and stuff. So the fact that you're taking more scrolls when scrolls really start this issue and everything, this whole espionage story, and now you just brought the remaining scrolls, possibly in the rest of the remaining galaxy, back to Earth. So now we have more scrolls on Earth than we did before. Yeah,
Yeah, but I
and that's
mean,
it.
granted the fact that Captain America 4, the presidency is going to give in to Thunderbolt Ross. Who knows? Maybe something happened, but we honestly wouldn't know until then. Like until Captain America 4, we won't know.
Yeah. So then you get this, after that, that cameo, nice, girl friendship and everything. All of a sudden now you basically get to a point where now uh the team are basically gathering together and then reintroducing themselves and trying to get their superhero names because Monica doesn't have a superhero name.
Hmm.
And they're trying to practice with their powers now of their entanglement, right?
Hmm.
Their entanglement, and basically see how they're going to able to work with their abilities and stuff. And they found out that the next place you're going to go is a planet of resources, right? So if she already got atmosphere, and now the next place is water, which is this new
Water.
Atlantic place that has not that planet is covered about like 99% of that planet, and that's where we get to this planet
I I know
and
you've been waiting to talk about this. Go ahead.
um and we basically get to this singing planet which Captain Marvel has some history in because apparently she's uh married to the prince in there for legal reasons and stuff, but the way is that
Yeah,
in that planet,
just for aesthetic, married for aesthetic, basically that type of thing.
yeah, in that planet, the only language they speak is actually you is in song, right? So as they're speaking, they have to sing a song, and that's how they do it, right? So I was like, oh, okay. And we basically get this, this scene, this musical, with the one of the runner-ups of K-pop here.
I I I
So
I, sh- I should also. You might get mad about this, but that race does exist in the comics, but it's not singing. It's just rhyme.
okay,
So they didn't need to sing, but they did.
yeah, I'm getting to points with this, but yeah, and afterwards, we get to this singing planet with this runner-up from K-pop over here, this dude right here, um, and they're able to sing songs, but he can speak plain English because he's bilingual. So, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
as soon as he shows up, they're like, "Oh wait, he's bilingual, so he doesn't need to do it," and they just stop, and you're just like, "What was that for then? What was that for then?"
and this is where, and then okay,
Pixie
so this is,
dust.
and this is, oh no, we again, it gets worse. And then we get to this point where now she's welcome as a as a basically a Disney princess and stuff, and all of a sudden this freaking dress has appeared out of nowhere from the fairy godmother, a mother from Cinderella, or from Peter Pan, and you have this faith, trust, and pixie
Bippity
dust
boppity boo.
crap, right? And all of a sudden she has a dress that just appears out of freaking nowhere, and she starts singing because Brie Larson is multi-talented. We got to show you that, right? So yeah, and we basically get this scene of just her just singing with this prince and stuff. Right here, let me show them right here. Um, this just I'm sorry, y'all. This be pissing me is and Lucas should have saw me because I was pissed off, man, when they did this stuff. We get there. I was pissed.
I didn't see him when he saw it, but he definitely talked
I
about
was
me afterwards.
literally like, literally, we're watching the movie, and that scene's going on. I was like, I was feeling this movie, and I just I was feeling this movie for for first 20 minutes, whatever. And all of a sudden, when that singing thing came in and stuff, I literally was in my seat like this.
Stop! He's already
I
dead.
I was hitting my head so much, man. I was just through.
Emotional damage.
And then it gets worse though. By the way, so mind you, Captain Marvel is supposed to be the most powerful being in the universe and stuff like that, right? Now, we get to that, and then and she's fighting this hammer girl with the bangle and stuff, and apparently she's not as strong as she used to be. And yes, the bangle absorbs her freaking powers, and that's why she's able to shrink. But I remember we only had needed one Captain Marvel to basically take out an entire Kree army in space and just going left and right? And I thought, well, guess what? You got Captain Marvel powers, and why you need a hammer? Why you need a hammer? You can just fly. You have super strength now, right? And you're supposed to absorb all the freaking powers. But no.
Nope, she shoots
Anyway,
it right back.
yeah, shoots it right back, and again, Captain Marvel can't get her worth the damn. You can't, she just getting knocked out, knocked down, knocked to the left, from the east to the west, back to the east, back to the west, right? And then here we go, going back and forth with Monica Rambeau. Shout out to Black Girl Magic, and
Also, oh yeah, Nick Fury said,
and
but
wife,
also just mind you.
please bring me my crown royal back, please. She took it away from
Also,
me. She tried to listen. She tried to switch my liquor. I'm basically listen. I am my master apprentice. Literally, I only have this drinking. I had this crown apple right here. She took it. She switched with this cranberry ginger ale. Which, by the way, shout out to Canadian Dry, the sponsors of this channel today, at least honorary. But yeah.
yeah.
Sweetheart,
Also,
the crown apple.
Also, also just to know for you all, this is also the planet they get their new suits from. Like Carol,
okay. Thank you, dear. Thank you, dear.
Like this is also the planet where they get their new suits from. Like Carol's new suit, Kamala's kind of new suit, and Monica finally getting her photon suit. That was this planet, this singing planet. You're muted.
Yeah, because we can just use face, trust, and pixie dust to make just generic Marvel suits and stuff and everything. And then hey, you know what? We just gotta get because it's a Disney Channel movie now. We can just get the damn carpet or a little scarf from Aladdin and just give it to Miss Marvel and whip it and shit. Like slaves on the plantation. But anyway,
no,
yeah,
do not do it. Do not do it.
But again, I need to get to the movie, right? So then after that, they get to this regroup of with each other when there's three of them after they lose this battle, right? and they're all grouping, and she's like, listen, I didn't need Captain Marvel, I needed my aunt when she left away, right? And we see a single tear from Brie Larson just shed so gently and stuff, and all of a sudden the scene cut away and went back to her, and her face is fully dry. And that's just and that was the emotional development of this character in this whole fucking movie. And then we have Miss Marvel just basically reminding herself like, hey, it's okay, you just got, we just got to work together as a team, and just get to it, right? And now they found the next resource they have to get to is Earth, right? And we get to Earth now, mind you. There's some situations happening because of this whole Bengal mess and everything, and now the Nick Fury, the ship and everything start to have failure with Kamal Khan's parents and stuff, and the escape pods, half the escape pods are destroyed, and now they're like, well, we gotta go, we don't have nowhere to leave. But before we even get to that, there's some mysterious
we gotta talk about Goose now.
There's some mysterious eggs that was going in this freaking facility, right? They didn't know where it's coming from, right? But all of a sudden, one of those eggs start to hatch, and what we find out is that that Goose actually was pregnant and had a lot of babies throughout this movie. So
Baby
yeah,
Flurkins.
and Flurkins, right? And fully grown, matured. Guess what? For the most part, Flurkin babies, so cats, right? And they're like, Nick Fury had an idea, like, you know what? Let's just, and actually, let's just.
You want me to say it?
Like, no. So go, no. Let's just go and just and right. That's my question. Who's mess with this cat? Right. And who we're actually gonna, these Flurkins, they can actually absorb, a lot of big objects, even humans and stuff, and reabsorb them back, right? So what she do? Instead of having trying to fit all these humans into the escape pods, we can fit a whole bunch of cats in these escape pods who also are swallowed by have these humans swallowed and everything, so they can also help with the capacity and everything. So now we spent this whole scene of now them being chased by freaking Garfields around this whole space station.
Please let the Flurkins eat you. Stop running. Let the Flurkins eat you.
And while you have the one of the worst plays known imaginable, and one of the worst live action movies of a play, Cats songs playing in the background, while they're being swallowed by these damn Flurkins, and everything. But then when we get to that, now,
Lucas, that's disgusting.
Yeah. Aside from that, and I'm leaving this up. Yeah, just this the stupidity of this movie. I was already checked out at this point. But then we get to the third act of this film, and again, this is again when everything falls apart. Now, right now, they are fighting. Dar-Ben, Loki's wife. I'm just gonna call her Loki's wife because that's more memorable than the villain herself in this damn movie. So just remember, it's Loki's wife. She has the Ronan accuser hammer, and now she's fighting each other. And they finally got the second bangle when she got won the upper hand and able to get the second bangle. But mind you, throughout the movie, her right hand man was like, "Hey, we need to test more of this bangle before, because if you get both of them, you might not able to take this power." And she's like, "No, I'd rather die and sacrifice, myself, for my people." Well, okay. First 2 seconds, she just took the bangles and she incinerates in fucking space, right? And with that, I'll try and find that scene here. She incinerates. I have been cussing a lot in a minute in the show. This movie brought me back to it. But
also, we never explained the bangles, because they do confirm they're the quantum bands of Quasar. If you know Quasar is in the comics, or like what Marvel had, like original Captain Marvel had, yes, it's those bands, and those were used to make the jump points that we've been seeing all over the MCU since Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah. And speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy, I guess they were just off on Tuesdays and and Thursdays. I guess
I think Rock. Look, I'm just gonna guess that Star-Lord was either asleep or Rocket was just like, no, I got better things to do over here.
Yeah. And at this point, hold on, I gotta do this because I can't do this by myself anymore. Okay. I gotta bring in my master and my mentee here, mentor here, Lucas in the building. Lucas, how you doing, man?
I'm just entertained watching y'all talk this much about this horrible ass movie. I didn't know it was possible to talk this much about this badass movie. I felt for Jay King. I watched this movie and I thought, you know what? This may be something that he had hope could be a good movie. And I came on your channel irresponsibly at this point. I blame myself. And I told people to give this movie a chance. And I feel bad, like I should refund everybody who gave this movie a chance. This movie is horrible. On every level humanly possible, this movie is horrible. I can't believe that somebody thought it would be a bright idea to make Marvel's version of BVS with women and then put it out here for the world to see. And then a singing planet. A singing planet. Did the mouse also make the uniform on the singing planet? Because that's what normally happens in
Also,
Disney
mind
movies.
you, this is supposed to be a rhyming planet, not a singing one. They rhyme in the comics, not sing.
No. In Disney, we sing. We don't care what you do in the comics. In Disney, we sing. And everyone must
You're
sing.
going to sing right now, boy?
Yeah. And the moment they landed, you're like, no, you can't. You couldn't thought that was a good idea. It feels like a bunch of half-baked ideas were put together to make a movie. And no one fully thought this out. Like, nah, this ain't gonna work. Like this, as I said when we reviewed it, I said, this is the most disrespectful movie humanly possible for a black director to be a part of. I understand why now. She said, this is a Kevin Feige movie. I had to understand this was not my movie. She was basically separating herself like, you will not blame me for this shit. I'm confused. And I'll ask you too, because you two are lovers of Marvel. Well, Mike used to be, but JK, you still like Marvel. Do you think it was a good idea to put 3 characters together that no one liked and make a movie out of them? Because people told you they didn't like these characters. I mean, does it make sense to do that?
I mean, out of the 3, at least 2 of them, people, at least for the most part, liked, especially those who gave their shows a chance. But like, and again, I wouldn't say it's on the level of BVS on where it's just like, what were you thinking? Like, I wouldn't even say that because that was just a lot of like, I know what you're saying, but it's like, that BVS was just a lot of, it could have been good, but you rushed it. In this case, it's characters that had a connection at the very least instead of coming out of nowhere. I'll give it that. And as I said, as we both have said, Miss Marvel and Monica Rambeau were the best parts of this film, hands down. No one can really say otherwise about that. As I said, this movie has problems. It has problems. It's very disjointed, and I could definitely see that, yes, this is more of a Feige film, especially with the things that he wanted in there to set up for later, or things that he felt like would be better to have in there.
Yeah, and let me ask you. We're about to be done with this hour and 45-minute movie. And we get to third act or lack there is one. Basically the quantum bands and everything gets destroyed, or not destroyed. She gets
not destroyed. She gets destroyed. The bands are still good, both of them.
And basically,
you're gonna explain that to me because I didn't understand any of that because they never explained to you the power levels of anything she has.
Yeah, so basically the powers were basically too much for her to handle. Now, in 2 seconds, Miss Marvel was able to put 2 of those bangles. He was perfectly fine. But there's a reason for that, because in Miss Marvel, you find out not only that she's a mutant, that the bangles are actually tied to her DNA from her great-grandmother who's from a different dimension and stuff like that.
So like the Bengals are supposed the Bengals work for her because they're supposed to. Dar-Ben is not supposed to. Kamala is
but
supposed
to. But also
here's the biggest problem of that.
In the movies where it matters, there was no mention of Miss Marvel ever
being a mutant. Unfortunately for them, they put a lot of connection to a show that nobody watched. And when you do that as a movie-going audience, I am confused on why did she blow up and the other person can easily put them on. When if you'd have taken just 10 minutes to fully explain a backstory on a lot of these characters, the movie would have felt more fleshed out. I think that's the biggest downfall of this film is, hey, instead of just assuming people watch your shows when you saw the ratings, You show the viewership. You know people didn't watch these shows. So how about you just explain a little bit about what these characters, who these characters are? Because if
I
they would
think
have spent any time fully explaining the Bengals for everybody to know, like not like a little mention of it, you got to explain it because you have to do it, assuming nobody watched your show.
My wife did
And
not
that's the
watch the show.
problem when you connect it. Like no one watched it. So if you don't connect it as a movie going person, I'm watching it and I'm like, okay, I don't even know who these people are. And you're not explaining to me who these people are. Then you're not explaining me their powers. Then you're not explaining me these wristlets that they have going on. Why does this other woman look like the villain from Guardians of the Galaxy and no one explains it? Then the dopest part of this film, or what could have been the dopest part of this film, is the Annihilator scene. When Captain Marvel does whatever she does that causes her to lose her shit, if you show that full scene, it will make so much more sense for your villain to be mad. Instead, I don't care about your villain. We talked about it during the movie. It took 50 minutes into the movie before anyone even knew her name. And everybody's like, oh, so what's her, why is she mad now? They're like, oh, the Annihilator scene. Oh, the one you didn't show us. That's why she's mad.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah,
Like,
what
Yeah, and
what
with that,
I'll say like what would have been good. I'll say what would have been good in that instance, like because the first thing that happened for the movie was the Marvel logo. Before that should have been the Annihilator scene. Have that be
there you
the
go.
opening scene,
Mhm.
then the Marvel Studios logo. Then, as much as I liked, Kamala's like little doodle of her and Captain Marvel teaming up, that could have even been her like as a little journal explaining herself.
but you could have still had that. That would still been an
Yes.
introduction for Miss Marvel.
Mhm.
That's because that also again it would be tonally different, or at least from what we just saw. But that's the whole point of Marvel when they were at least
Yeah.
trying to make a decent movie, was that they were making things have a film that had identity, right? So it's like when you were watching a Russo
Guardians.
Brothers movie, you had identity. When you're watching a James Gunn Marvel movie, you had identity. So it's like when you watching this movie, and especially if you're trying to somewhat connect to the Disney Plus shows, yeah, that whole styling graphic thing, that's tied to Miss Marvel. But then it's like, but we're trying to say this is not a Miss Marvel season 2. This is Captain Marvel 2 featuring Miss Marvel and Monica Rambeau.
Yeah.
But that's not what's going on here. And that's why I said in my review, I enjoyed Miss Marvel season 2. Because to me, she was the only compelling character aside from Monica Rambeau from this that I actually liked in the previous shows and everything. But aside from that, hold on a second.
I'm about to say, J. King said it right. It should have started with Captain Marvel's Annihilator scene.
Yeah, like show the full
equivalent-
Annihilator scene at
Yeah.
the beginning.
It was
show
equivalent
us
of
that.
starting off the way that Guardians of the Galaxy 3 started off. And it was a hard scene to watch at the beginning of it. Then they changed to everything else. If you would have seen that Annihilator scene at the beginning and you fully understood why this villain was mad, I think you changed the course of the entire movie. And all it would have took is one scene to do so. Not meaning you're not going to make up for the rest of the horrible plot points in the movie, but at least you're going to make the movie make more sense. Because people would be like, oh, I get it now. This is why it makes sense for her to be mad. Captain Marvel thought she was doing something good and it backfired. Wow. Doesn't that show that gives you the hero story of her doing something that she thought was for the greater good and it turned bad, and it's a lesson that she has to learn. Then maybe you bring in these other characters that can help teach her how to be a better hero. Instead, you just let them supplant her as a hero and say, nah, no one likes her anyway.
Also, another thing is like, again, as I said, put that in the beginning, but instead of the scenes where they kind of flash back to it in the film, instead you show other, like, even if it's quick, other scenes of how Hala falls, like you see how it happened, but then within those small scenes, show like resources dying, the power going out, the fish and like the food or whatever they eat on that planet, like dying out.
All we saw was basically
everything dries up. You're right. Yeah.
Everything gets effed up.
Like they get to the planet Hala, and all we see is Hala during 2020, and they just got the first Pfizer vaccine. So it's just like, and that all you can take. We released the mandate.
Not
y'all
even five. Johnson and Johnson.
Yeah,
they got Johnson and Johnson.
Right.
They got Johnson and Johnson. That's why they boiled as always. Like
you can take your mask off now.
Right. And the dude,
exactly.
dude on the side was like, "Don't do it, bitch." Don't do it. You know, but
We're
no,
COVID free. Take your mask off. We're COVID free.
but we believe the person who had a mic in their hand. Oh yeah, we believe you. But anyway, but again, right before we finish this film, after her death or the villain's death, the basically the energy basically cracked a hole through space time and creating an incursion, but they didn't say that. But that's basically we see another reality bleeding into our own, and so basically,
Just seems like something Doctor Strange will pop up to help with, right?
Right.
He's currently in the dark dimension. He don't know shit about this.
Yeah.
Right.
And as Mike said, the Guardians, they were off this week. This was their Christmas break, so they know they couldn't help out clearly.
No, they were having Easter with Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, they were clearly not there at all. Like no Avenger was around to help. Like everybody was decided that, you know what?
Not even Spider-Man, who was nearby.
Who?
Hey, not even Thor, who's everywhere. Or Nick Fury's
or Valkyrie,
ultimate Avenger wife. Like nobody was there. Nobody thought, like Nick Fury never thought maybe this would be the time to bring in my wife who has all the Avengers powers, and maybe she can help stop this from happening.
Wait, you said wife?
No.
What? You said wife?
No. So I'm gonna get in her. I'm gonna get to that point. Because again, like before we're about to finish this, like we're capping this movie because I have to address the plot points here, and there's a whole list, and I have a whole written down in my little book right here. So and now at the end, we basically got the black woman protect.
Big ass little book to have your plot points written down.
No, I'm gonna make sure. Yeah, right. So anyway, I had a laundry list. I have receipts of why I say fuck Marvel right now. But anyway, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but the words just came out of my mouth, y'all. It's on recording. But basically what happened again is that Monica is now she's able to with her light-based powers for some reason that she learned yesterday. She's now able to close
her light-based powers plus the powers of the bangle that Kamala gave the energy.
Right. They just gave her all the powers, combined with each other to close this hole. But she closed it from the inside, right? And now, mind you, they didn't say,
close the hole.
Mind you, they didn't say, hey, well, are you gonna get trapped and stuff like that? No. So that's what's gonna happen. And but no, she gets trapped, and Monica says, I always knew I was gonna get trapped up in here. Goodbye, and while Captain Marvel's chasing her, and then it blips away, and then she's still no tears in space, I guess because tears don't,
There's no crying. There's no crying in space, sir. You're not allowed to cry in space.
No.
We accept whatever happens.
No one can hear you cry. No.
Right,
There's no noise in space, but we always hear noise.
Yes.
If George Clooney's not around with Sandra Bullock, you can't cry in space. Those are the rules now.
Yes, right. And so now Monica is allegedly gone for some, and stuff. And now all of a sudden, people are sad, mourning. But then all of a sudden, Captain Marvel, which I know, Captain Marvel is now moving into the house of Monica and Maria Rambeau's house and stuff. I was confused. I'm like, well, are Kamala Khan's family moving in there because their house got torn the fuck up? It looked like
they were moving in there. I was confused.
Why were they helping Captain Marvel move into a house in Louisiana? Could anybody explain that?
Because they're friends.
Hold on. Actually,
they literally just met each other.
Also, here's the thing: Louisiana, call Sam and do that.
Cause Captain America, he's in Louisiana, I guess.
Here's the bigger problem. Aren't you supposed to be protecting space? Why are you moving to Louisiana?
Because she's going off the grid. She's going off the grid.
I guess she said sword and the Guardians got this.
Space anymore? Like, wasn't that the whole purpose of why we didn't see Captain Marvel in anything else? Is because she was in space saving other worlds.
And now it's about to be an even worse excuse for why she doesn't show up, because now she's literally in Louisiana. So yeah,
and nothing happens down there. Like, there's no need for her to leave.
And
she's gonna go to Mardi Gras every year. She's gonna be pointless.
So at the end,
about that singing scene all over again.
Yep.
No, but
white girls got rhythm, so her dance is gonna be horrible down there. It's gonna be bad.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, man.
No echo or nothing? No problem.
Say again.
No echo, right?
No, you're good. You're good.
No. The
Um,
only Echo is on Hulu.
Or on Disney Plus, maybe.
On both.
Both.
And
Both.
Echo can't hear. Or
But anyway, all
well,
right.
it
Before we
don't
jump,
matter. It'll be gone in a week.
we
But let's
jump
just
into
go.
anything,
Let's finish off Captain Marvel and the
yeah.
Marvel.
Before we jump into anything, I'm gonna get to my stance and my receipts, right?
Your handy
So,
dandy notebook, like this is Blue's Clues. Go get it.
yes. But Blue Clues. But yeah, and so we basically end off the movie there. But before we get to that, Aman Vellani is doing her very best Nick Fury impression, and now she invites Kate Bishop with her new iPad that she got from Sword, and now they're able to start teaming up another team of Young Avengers and stuff, and she's
or champions, whatever they want to choose the name to be.
Young Avengers and stuff, and they're gonna be bringing in other characters such as Scott Lang's daughter and all the stuff, all these other characters that nobody watch or care about currently.
Say it again.
But whether they make it to a movie or Disney Plus show, we shall see. And she's basically recounting, the exact lines that she said to, that Nick Fury said to Tony Stark. Now, how does she know those exact lines? If from where verbatim.
I already told you this. She had to have asked Nick Fury a lot of questions within this film, just not on screen. But she had to have asked him a lot of stuff.
Why would Nick Fury answer those questions? We saw how he treated Peter. All of a sudden, you're friends with this little girl, and you're answering everything that she asks you.
I mean, that wasn't Nick. That was Talos.
No. Regardless of that, so with
that,
because with that with the end, the credits are passing by, and we're just looking at each other like, "What fuck is this?" Right? And
we knew exactly what's about to happen next. Don't say that like we didn't.
We knew exactly
what was happening.
So, because throughout the movie, they're making jokes and everything by like getting her Monica her name. It's like, oh, Professor Marvel. Oh, she said Professor.
They was throwing every hint in the world at you what was going to happen.
Right. So we're in a new reality. We see Monica Rambeau. She wakes up. She wakes up in a little hospital room and stuff, and then all of a sudden she wakes up. She sees next to her, she sees Maria Rambeau, the new token Black woman of the Marvel Universe. They have now used this person 3 times as different characters, and she has Maria Rambeau, and she's not the Captain Marvel from Doctor Strange. She's a new character called Binary.
And is it because she still had the bangles like Captain Marvel?
Yeah,
no, that was just part of the costume, but no, she's binary, like the binary, like Carol's alternate form binary.
So Carol's alternate form?
You don't know about
I'm not
basically.
You understand the problem here.
Well, okay.
You're a comic book person attempting to explain to a non-comic book person who this character is.
Okay, I'll just say binary is basically Carol at her full strength, like unhinged at her full strength. That's all I need to say.
Oh, so they are going to kill her.
It's also a pronoun.
Now it makes sense.
So
now it makes sense.
So
she's the one that Rogue takes the powers from.
Possibly.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, she has to die. She's black, and she's a black woman in Marvel. You don't live. Those are the rules.
Yeah, so and we see, the character in the suit called Binary, and she's like going, what happened? But all of a sudden, we see in this room, and all of a sudden somebody just passes by, right? And we're like, who passes by here, right? And we turn around and we see a motion capture of Beast, played by Kelsey Grammer.
Worst CGI in the world.
And CGI Beast. Comic book accurate.
It was not that bad. It was not that bad.
It was bad. Go back and
the
look
fact
at.
To say it's not that bad makes it pretty bad, J. Kane. Like that didn't do it any justice at all. Like, don't say it's not that bad.
But yeah,
I would shrink like Ant-Man. Shrink like Ant-Man now.
And so we see now she's in basically a new universe with the X-Men, and we see that he referred to Charles Xavier and stuff. And now it was voiced by Kelsey Grammer. And all of a sudden, Beast walks away, and then all of a sudden we hear the X-Men X2 United theme song. And now we're basically have Monica and Maria looking at each other like, who are you? And Monica's like, oh shit, what I got myself into. And we end the movie there. And at that moment, in my head, in my heart, and more importantly in my spirit, this is what I felt with Marvel, felt with Kevin Feige at that moment is exactly I felt this once that end credit scene came. I felt this.
I am sick. I am sick of your shit. And when I'm not sick, I'm tired. I am sick and tired.
And yeah, I'm through. I'm through. Because when that scene came out, it came across as me as desperation. And just like, yep, now we got to just throw X-Men out there. And
you remember when people with the MCU thought they were better than the Fox movies? And boy, y'all depending on those Fox movies to save y'all ass all of a sudden. It's the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah. So now we lead into basically the next Marvel movie, which is going to be Deadpool 3, which is my most anticipated movie of next year, which is going to be coming out the week of Comic-Con. Yeah, well, it's just I have high expectations for it, and I hope I don't get disappointed.
Deadpool 3 or Doom 2?
Say again?
Doom 2 or Deadpool 3?
I have expectations for different reasons. Like, I mean, yeah, because Dune, I was we're supposed to get Dune this month, like really this week almost, right?
Yeah,
and
this week,
and yeah, this week we're supposed to get it, and then they delayed it. But with Deadpool 3, that's what my most anticipated. Like, I've been looking forward to it, and I just want to see what they're going to do, and if they do it the right way, I think it can hopefully help Marvel in some form or fashion. But again, I don't want to subvert my expectations, but I am getting excited when I'm hearing everything about this film. So that's why I say it's my most anticipated film of next year, and it's the only MCU movie that's going to be coming out next year. Is going to be Deadpool 3.
But it's not is it an MCU movie?
Yes.
Based off of what?
They own it.
What does that mean with anything?
They own it.
I need you to explain it past that to make this an MCU film.
They own it.
They've also confirmed that it has been, right, in the continuity now.
It's going to be
because technically to them. So are the Spider-Man movies. Would you call those MCU movies?
The ones with Tom Holland, yeah. And now that they've crossed into it, yeah, you can.
Here's the thing with
depending on how the
Deadpool will be MCU
go, which
related.
It looks like it's already been forming like this.
For which one? For Deadpool?
For Tom Holland's.
Oh wait, no, Tom Holland.
You just brought up Tom Holland. You brought up Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, because Tom Holland movies, as I always say, you can remove those completely out of the MCU, and you couldn't tell a difference in their storyline. But they did that for a reason that way, because Sony made them do it that way. But Sony said, you can use them. Spider-Man can be in the MCU, but the movies need to be where they can stand alone without you. And if you remove the Spider-Man movies from the MCU, it changes no difference of any of their storylines. The character does when you look at him in other movies, but not in his own movies. It's very, very slick way that Sony did that with them and telling them that our movies can't overly connect to your universe, but our character can be in your universe.
But that's already been that already destroyed it when Captain America Civil War came out, and then when you have Iron Man in Homecoming, and then we have Samuel L. Jackson in Far From Home, and then when you have Anne Maria Hill, movies. And then you have
all of my side characters that don't matter. If you really think about it,
I wouldn't call Samuel L. Jackson and then don't matter though.
Think about it in No Way Home. Is it No Way Home? He was in Far From Home, one of those movies. Far From Home is in the
one that you see Samuel Jackson and Maria Hill and Happy
Hogan. Right in the last 10 minutes, right?
Hmm?
But you do notice that technically all those villains amazingly are connected to Sony's universe, not Marvel's universe. It's a reason for that. That's what I'm saying. They use them as side characters. Yeah,
but then it's like
that was
the fact that Jake Gyllenhaal's Quentin Beck relates more to the fact of how he was working originally with Tony and them in the Stark Industries and stuff, and how he didn't make the par with them and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh no,
And
they used him for that purpose of it, but then they tell him all the time
yeah,
the villain can be used in the villain will be used in our universe before it will ever be used in the MCU.
That's, again, we
It's a
didn't see
reason for that.
because we did not see Vulture or any or no Mysterio, no even like even when they were trying to do Craven and put him in as the villain for the third movie, they said no, we're gonna make him give him his own solo movie in the Sony verse, right? And that's what
And
so
then connect him with Vulture and everyone else
right
that's a
and
villain
Morbius
from
and
those
all that
Marvel
stuff.
movies. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's but that's known that was always Sony's plan.
Mhm.
Sony's plan was always, and Marvel's plan also was, if the Spider-Man movies got removed, it wouldn't affect our storytelling because they knew at any given time Sony could just say, "Yeah, we don't like you no more, and we don't want you to use our character," and there's nothing Marvel could do about it.
Mhm.
With Deadpool, the boat that they're in is Ryan told them, I have complete control over everything that's going to happen. And if I don't like it, it's not going to happen. And they had to agree to that. You know what does not work well with Kevin Feige? Someone else having complete control over where a movie operates. So if anything that happens in Deadpool 3 is what Ryan wants to happen in Deadpool 3. So if it's any interference whatsoever that you wanted to grow your universe and he does not agree to it, it's not going to happen in Deadpool, because Ryan is literally not signed up to do anything else after Deadpool 3. Like, he's only signed for Deadpool 3, and then that's it for him. That's why he said right now he was taking such a big break, or when he thought the strike was going on, before the strike happened, he said, I can't wait till this is over with because I'm taking a break and I'm not doing this character for a while. Or if I ever come back to this character. Like, these are words that he said about this. So it's not going to change with him. So it's going to be hard to build anything off of a character that you know you can't keep. And then you're not casting the X-Men early because Marvel is real stubborn about wanting to do anything with X-Men too early because they feel it will overshadow every other character in existence that they have if you go to the X-Men too early.
Mhm.
Hugh Jackman is said this is a one-off for him also. He's like, I'm done after this. I did this as a favor to Ryan. Like, all of them are saying I did this to a favor to one person, and it's not Kevin Feige. And it's not Marvel. So when I ask, is Deadpool a Marvel movie? I'm not saying it because Marvel owns the property. I'm saying it because the creatives that run the MCU have no input in this movie. That's the problem. Because they
Yeah.
gave everything to Ryan for him to return in this character. And when you do that to an actor who's also the executive producer, who also hired the director, who also hired the writers, who also hired everything for the film, and you gave him this much control, it's hard to connect. All you can do is hint towards stuff and hope it works. But then you're doing the same thing you've been doing with the MCU, which is the downfall of the MCU currently, is that you're hinting towards stuff, not living or giving a grander story to anything.
Yeah, and then this is the point with my list I had here, and I'm gonna go for platform, for the fact that it had
Hey,
missed
Raven and J.
opportunity.
King.
He's in the back. He's just I think he's yeah, he said he'd be right back. But when it came to one of the biggest thing that we saw in the Miss Marvel show, right? Miss Marvel show, we found that the where she got the bangle was actually in the Shang-Chi temple. We saw the 10 rings logo is where we found that bangle, right? And I
Mhm.
thought, okay, well, Shang-Chi, I'm like, and you have this 10 rings, and mind you, Captain Marvel had a cameo in Shang-Chi. So I thought, okay, what is
Mhm.
somewhere connecting it into this point where we're able to bring this character that, whether the movie was financial or not, there's someone that general public people like, oh, we at least like he was decent to the point we might want to see his character again. But he came when we found out that with the Bengals, it had no tie to the quantum realm from Ant-Man. Could that pass along? And then we saw, okay, maybe I thought possibly maybe that Shang-Chi, that all the 10 rings form on the other Bengal. And
Mhm.
that's what had a somewhat connection to Miss Marvel in some ways, right? But no, that's not what happened. And even though they found it in a Shang-Chi temple, or I mean in a 10 rings temple, doesn't matter. So that's off the way. Secondly, goes into Secret Invasion, which is one of the I think one of the worst Disney Plus shows from Marvel
Yes.
that they produced,
Mhm.
and also one of the shows that was a complete waste of your time because Nick Fury is Nick Fury in this movie, and I said I enjoyed him more in this movie than 6 episodes of him in Secret Invasion because they basically just destroyed his character and in 6 episodes, and then all of a sudden in Marvel, when they bring into Marvels, now he's the same Nick Fury we remember in all Marvel movies and stuff like that. But here's the thing, though: there's a lot of things that happen in that show. We found out that he has a wife, a Skrull wife, and everything. We find out that they were hiding a bunch of other Skrulls in terms of in this planet and everything. And now, because the ending of that show, there's a whole the president of the United States said, "Hey, we're gonna put a ban against all extraterrestrial beings from Earth and stuff like that because of the Skrulls, right?" And but what happened was at the end of the season, Nick Fury goes up to space and with his wife and to save her. And I'm watching this entire movie, no mentioning of him having a wife, no scene of where the wife is at, who's a Skrull, right? And in no scene, we're like, where's Nick Fury's wife? And another thing, I'm trying to find this scene right here. But in the first Captain Marvel,
well, hold up, Mike.
go
Let me
ahead.
help you out here because I heard someone mention it earlier today. Unfortunately, technically, they released these two things out of order. So at one point in time, Captain Marvel was supposed to come out before Secret Invasion.
Crazy.
So because of the flip, it now leads to the confusion on exactly which one of these are first and second, because no one knows right now. It's kind of like the thing with Black Widow and Black Captain America, when technically Black Captain America was supposed to come out before Black Widow. So you got introduced to a character out of order. So now you get confused on what their character actually is, the purpose of what they're doing. I heard it was the same thing here, where the Marvels was supposed to come out before Secret Invasion. So now it's a confusion because this is a completely different Nick Fury than what you got in Secret Invasion. And technically they say that's the reason why, is because the Marvels was supposed to be first. I know it's confusing, but they didn't care enough to explain that to you. No, we're just going to drop it and you'll figure it out.
I think the best moments when they portrayed Nick Fury the best was especially like the first 2 Avengers movies. I liked him a lot on those. Him as his own character. When you saw him pop up, you kind of felt that presence of, this is the Nick Fury we like when we see. But the one that always stood out to me out of all of them was Winter Soldier. That Nick Fury and Winter Soldier. It was very pivotal. And then just those moments he had with individual members of the Avengers, when he had those moments with them and with the villains, especially when he had his time, whether it was with Loki or when he was talking with Robert Redford's character in Winter Soldier. Those kind of moments were very pivotal. And it's just the way the angle was too. I'm not gonna say that like when Secret Invasion was the worst, but I'm like 85% there with Jedi Mike, though, like 85 to 90% with Jedi. I am gonna say that. I'm gonna say that right now.
Do you all think Nick
I said it from the very beginning.
Character now?
No, I said from the very beginning. I always thought that Secret Invasion was a wasted plot line the way that they did with this way, and they could have introduced other already established heroes to come out in that series or make more than one season of it, where like Earth's Mightiest Heroes version, like in the animated series, how they did Secret Invasion there. It would have been awesome to see it as like a 2-parter of a movie, or maybe a couple of seasons of it, where you're going to see more and more different types of Skrulls being experimented on. And then you have Super Skrull, and then you could have introduced Fantastic Four. You could have done stuff like that, and they didn't do that, and that's unfortunate because it's kind of like that guy, that fisherman commercial, like, oh, you gotta be quicker than that with a dollar bill, but then they snatch it away from you. And it's like you have all this great story writing and script, but you don't want to do it. Like, why not? Like, McDonald's, regardless of what you say about them, McDonald's is still a successful franchise. It's made millions of dollars. It's consistent. The NBA, the NFL, regardless how you look at it, it's a successful business. They don't change much except for more commercials and more endorsements and stuff like that. But it's still very successful. They don't change. So I don't get why they just don't be consistent with the original plot.
That's what it is. They have to hold on now. It used to be a time where you could just make any superhero film or show and it would garner eyes and it would garner attention. And that's not the case anymore. So now we're reverting back to the days where people want the characters they know. And what I mean by know, I mean the ones that go beyond a comic book person knowing. So Fantastic Four is a big group and they're going to slow walk them out as much as possible. Same thing with the X-Men. Like we're getting back to the stages where these obscure characters aren't going to be easy to do anything with. You're gonna have to go with the main ones. Like it's a reason why beyond Shang-Chi not making the money it needed to make, it's a bigger reason why they told Sam, you won't get a sequel until after Secret Wars. So that means he has to wait another 4 years before they even willing to do a sequel to his film. It's the reason why Eternals hasn't been announced as a sequel. It's the reason why they're not announcing sequels to anything at this point. It's because they can't. They like we can't waste any more capital on characters that people are proving that they don't like. So we need to slow walk the big characters out to people. And the big slow walk right now is Fantastic Four. They're hoping they got to get that right. If Fantastic Four fails, the MCU is over. There is no way to recover.
But you know why I also believe that this is the opportunity to get it right is the introduction of the villains that come with the Fantastic Four. You know, because like every great hero, right? Like as you all have known and heard this quote, behind every great hero are great villains. And if we know the Fantastic Four and the correlation with it, Galactus, Doctor Doom, Annihilus, all the references and Easter eggs within the Marvel universe, the continuity, like whether it's the prisons, the negative zone, you talk about the Baxter building, you talk about everything that's going to be built up in the connection, because we know that anybody who knows Human Torch and She-Hulk have a history themselves, you know, and then so on and so forth.
Do you think they would take their time to do something that they've never done before, which is build out a villain? It took 30 movies to build out Thanos for you to care about him. Like you can't take that long to build out a villain. And right now, what you're seeing is a weakness that's been in the MCU since it started, which is because you have one person who needs to have complete control over everything, and you're not getting independent artists, independent writers, independent directors. It's all one voice, one band. When it's all one voice, one band, it kind of hurts when you're attempting to create these characters that need to stand out. And I don't think right now, in the state that the MCU is in, unless they change leadership, you're not going to be able to build these characters out right. You need someone who's going to come in and say, I fully understand that you need to operate on your own. Just keep this in mind. I need you to keep track of this storyline, but I'm not going to interfere in anything else you want to do. It's been too many Marvel directors after they left Marvel projects or before they got on one, or when they turned down a Marvel project and they said it was too much interference from people above me for me to make this a movie that I would appreciate. You got to respect people and think, man, if you like comic books, if this is the character that you want to do, I have to have faith that you know what you're doing. And Kevin tends not to have faith in directors. That's why he hires people who he can just put in place, and I can tell you what to do.
Well,
Yeah,
I also want to add another the plot hole I had with the last one was I want to show you in the first Captain Marvel, even though whether people like it or not, right? I'm trying to find this character. Yeah, so in the first Captain Marvel, right? There was a character that we got introduced to. I'm gonna show her right now, right? So we introduced to young Monica Rambeau, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, she was basically used as a template to basically become a hero later in the film, right? Now we also know that was not only the only character that actually grew up in from the first Captain Marvel, right? Because I want you to look at this character, Gaia, who is also the daughter of Talos, right? The Skrull general from the first movie. Now, people are like, well, I remember Gaia. I don't remember Emilia Clarke was in the. No. Because everybody forget about this scene here, where they were in the Maria Rambeau's house.
Yeah.
As little girls, they were playing in the corner and talking to each other and stuff like that, right? So obviously they somewhat have built a relationship. And my thing is this: is that why is it that after 30 years that you call Valkyrie to bring scrolls in, when now, especially after Secret Invasion, that you have the most powerful being in the Marvel universe, and someone you grew up with, who you trust, who knows about the whole scroll civilization and everything, who's the daughter of the previous general, and not in this movie at all in your once scene with that involves scrolls. They also had a relationship with Captain Marvel. It made us again. It made absolutely no sense, and I'm not just saying because she had all the powers. Is the fact that why did this character? You want to say bring more characters that actually serve the character of Carol Danvers and everything? It's like you did not bring those characters back, but you brought them in a show, Secret Invasion, that no one watched, and it actually confused everybody.
Well, again, it's because Secret Invasion was supposed to come after this movie, so play it in your head first that Secret Invasion hasn't happened yet. Nothing in that movie's happened yet, and then you get the Marvels, and then that happens.
I had pushback though, because in the show, Talos did say, "Oh, by the way, the other general, he has his colony here, and we brought million scrolls to planet Earth." So that means that he was already there, going, in space. So meaning that it came out before. If Marvel's supposed to come out before Secret Invasion, that means that general, the other colony, will already be there out on Earth.
I mean, because Marvel's got pushed back multiple times.
Yeah,
that's the thing too. That's what kind of pissed me off too, because I was like, the Kree Scroll War. If anybody remembers, especially the reference and the sources, I was like, you could have introduced Galactus in that way too, or somehow teased him or referenced him. Yet nothing. But yet we got to watch this right here. You got to watch Full House of Scrolls. I don't watch Full House of Scrolls. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, now that I get to have my own little moment of rant, because I got to chime in a little bit here. But I was like, the best part of the Marvels was the fact that it ended and there was credits rolling and you could finally leave.
Wow.
Nah.
Other than that, and then the post-credit scene.
So again, now I will say this to go into before we wrap up the show. Everybody stands is that there was a recent report that came out today that the writer for Avengers King Dynasty has left that project, and they're actually probably might be possibly throwing away the King Dynasty storyline away. Not confirmed. It's been reported.
No.
Jeff
That's
Love
had to be old. They fired him like 6 months ago and brought in new writers.
Because I heard of
when
different
somebody
writers
reported
and I heard
like
of
it was
different
new
directors.
news.
Jedi. No offense.
Yeah, no, somebody reported it today like it was new, and I
reported on my show and like months ago. I remember.
No, not you, Mike. It was somebody else in one of the blog sites. They posted it like it was a new story. They fired him right after Quantumanium failed. Got rid of him immediately, and they hired new people to do these movies. I don't think it has anything to do with getting rid of Kang yet. I think it has to do with more of, you wrote Quantumanium. You think we're going to allow you to write an Avengers movie?
Yeah, because like Quantumania, when it had that post-credit scene in the Coliseum in the Council of Kangs, that was probably one of the best post-credit scenes we've seen since Endgame has ended.
Now there are talks about just saying fuck Kang and bringing in a completely different villain. That I know those talks are definitely happening right now, and the talk is bringing Doctor Doom as the pivoting very quickly to Doom being the big villain for them in these next couple of films moving forward. But they're terrified to do it because it would rush out the Fantastic Four, which is something they don't want to do. But they're at zero dark 30 at this point. They may have no other choice but to rush this film out a lot sooner than they wanted to. I mean, yes, you have Deadpool, but after Deadpool, you have a movie that's actually completed that is about to go under months of reshoots. and that's Black Captain America movie, which is already done. They already shot the entire film,
and they just said
and
nope.
they're about to take months to try to fix it. Like that's big because that means that movie is shit, and they don't know what to do. And they're praying that Ryan got Deadpool right. But it's great that you can lean on the point that it's not your normal people who control a film, and you're hoping that Ryan gets Deadpool right, where he can help correct your universe, and then maybe you can pivot to something else. Maybe Deaf Girl. What's the show? The Deaf one.
Echo.
Yeah, okay. Echo.
Damn.
So you hoping Deaf Girl can work, but then you're also dropping all her episodes at one time, which is unlike anything they've ever done before because they don't have faith in the show. Plus, you canned half of the season of Daredevil, and now you brought in new people who just said today we're starting from scratch for
We're
Daredevil.
day zero on
Daredevil.
Daredevil.
Dude, it is such chaos going on with Marvel, and they got to find a way to fix it. They have to, because 2025. If you wait to 2025 to fix this, 2025 is going to be the make or break year. For you got Superman and a Batman movie both coming out that year, and Warner Brothers is petty. They're going to will those movies against any Marvel project that's going to come out against it, and they're going to say beat our numbers. And it's going to be something that's going to come out where James Gunn is going to talk about, hey, guess who's the only successful person who's produced a movie for Marvel in the last 5 to 6 years? He's now with DC. Like, all of that's going to come out. And that's the fear of Marvel, is like, okay, we got to get this shit together. Deadpool has to fix a lot, because in 2025, if DC plays this shit petty, they can put a project out with every project we drop, and then it could create us havoc. And we don't want that havoc to happen. Along with a Spider-Verse possibly coming out in 2025, which is unrelated to them. But also, the third Spider-Verse is literally supposed to connect the Tom Holland movies to the Sony movies. That's a hit that Marvel can't take right now. Because that creates another issue that they're not prepared to deal with.
Right.
Because they thought that they would be further along right now. They thought that some of these television shows would be received better. And besides Loki, and people love Loki, but Tom Holland has said, that's it, I'm done. The character's over with now. So now it's, are y'all looking forward to Agatha, the Teenage Witch?
No,
Like,
J. King,
that's
are
the
you
series that's
looking
coming
forward
out.
to it?
I still don't even get why they're making that show a show, but
the character was kind of cool, and then they just went overboard with it. But maybe they'll use her to connect other mutants and witches and stuff like that.
kind of cool.
Well, she's used basically as a template, because there's a rumor that she's going to introduce the character of Wiccan, which is Scarlet Witch's son, because the whole thing in the comics was that her sons were reincarnated. And
ain't he a young Avenger though?
Yes, another young Avenger.
So you don't need her to introduce him. You get Miss Marvel does that.
Well, no, because he's magic, and he's Wiccan as a character is very powerful and has like has history with witches and stuff like that.
See,
in
if
the
he's
lore,
basically described an
isn't he a
emotional
mutant
boy.
then?
You described an
He's
emotional
a mutant
boy.
though, right?
I mean, no, J. King, I'm not sure. Is he?
Scarlet Witch is a mutant. When he been mutant? I'm not talking about what MCU has said.
Listen, the only powerful mutant you got to worry about is Reed Richards and Sue Storm's son. That's the only most OP powerful mutant.
Oh, they won't get to that character in such a long time. They're still trying to get Daniel to take on the role of Wolverine.
J. King's like manifesting his inner childish Gambino right now.
Yo,
35, 2005. No matter what you say, what you do.
Yeah.
Fuck these all niggas right by your side. What up? What up? What up?
What up?
What?
Hey, I just want Y'all are Marvel fans. Are y'all excited moving forward? Are y'all worried moving forward? Do you think this can be corrected?
With some
Do you
stuff,
think
I mean,
that
I still
it,
I still hold a little
No,
bit, but I
look,
want to
what
hear what
J
J
King,
King has
what
to
do you
say.
think?
I mean, it.
I
I'll say this. Yes, things have not been good. They haven't. I'm not gonna lie and say that there haven't been good moments or good films that have happened, but I know the collective thought is that it's just not been good. Can it get better? Yes, it can get better. Do things need to change? If for it to get better, then yes. We've had hits like Loki season 2, like WandaVision, like a few other things, but the attention isn't there anymore. The attention left after Endgame, sort of kind of came back around No Way Home and Wakanda Forever, but the attention left. And I'm not
Hey,
gonna deny that.
I just want to take a second. My wife saw the movie and she actually enjoyed it. So I just want to know your thoughts on it and be a lifeline.
I don't feel
gotta hear
comfortable
this. I
giving
gotta
my
hear this.
No. Just we need to. We're men. We don't.
I really like the movie. I think from a critic's point of view, I could understand that it just logically didn't make sense with, everything that's going on in the comics. There was underdeveloped characters and things of that nature, and this being a sequel to Mrs. Marvel or Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
We really didn't get much focus on her, but overall, I thought it was a good movie. I'm not that embedded into the industry or the comics like that, but I enjoyed it.
So what did you say when after the movie was over? What you said to me?
I told y'all was tripping. It wasn't that terrible. It was watchable. It wasn't horrible. I enjoyed it. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
So, but I mean, do you think that maybe as a
Delusional.
critic we were jaded or from viewing this movie, or like what was your?
No, I think that there are extreme sectors just because it's all women, and so men really do have like this tiff with women in general. But I don't think that was your group. I think you guys just did not like the movie, and that's fine too.
From a comic accurate standpoint, it was atrocious.
Gotcha. I got you. So yeah, because I know Lucas. That when we did our review, that was the first thing he said. This is the worst Marvel movie of the year.
It's because I'm big on logic, and logically, the movie just does not move properly. But that does not take away, and I'm famous for saying it, a bad movie can still be entertaining. I watch every Fast and Furious movie.
Yes. I did not hit her. I did not.
Yeah.
Like the Room or Disaster Artist. I did not.
But to a point my wife was making, because I've said this, I called J King right after I saw the second time and stuff, right? I literally was with the theater. We went to a nice I-packed theater, man. They had these theater had motherfucking towels, man. For you to blankets to keep you warm. And they had nice food. It's in Maryland, but that's the Maryland, y'all.
Y'all was tricked by going to iPick. That's what it was. iPick can get you every time. I've not seen a bad movie in iPick ever. They give me a blanket.
No, listen,
they
got
wait on me hand and foot. Like,
yeah, you're able to bring the
they
liquor,
give me alcohol,
stuff like that. It was clean, nice chicken tenders was all right, and stuff. The fries all right, and these nice white bowls and stuff like that. It wasn't dirty, and everything. But
yeah, I'm gonna stick to getting in and out and sneaking in other food for my backpack. I'm good with that.
But you probably could. You probably could. But again, the point I was making that, and I didn't get to that part of my review was this: is that after seeing it for the first time, me already expecting knowing what this movie is, I then lowered it to let me just experience what it is. I laughed a lot in this movie, and I wasn't laughing. There's points that aside from the musical scene that took me out of it, and I have the right to say it took me out of it because I wasn't the only one. But the first 20 minutes of the movie and stuff was good. And again, Mon Vellani, I don't care what anybody else says, Mon Vellani was the best part in this movie, and Monica Rambeau. And I felt for me is that this was good Miss Marvel season 2, right? But again, a problem is that nobody watched the show. But regardless, she is right now currently your most, I'll say, the heart of the MCU right now is Iman Vellani in terms of the audience resonating with her, because again, it's like she's bringing back that Tom Holland feeling of Spider-Man and
Kind of like
from Civil
Homecoming.
War. What?
It's
What'd
like a
you say?
mix between Civil War and Homecoming.
Basically, right? And we were missing that, type of youthfulness in the MCU or joyfulness in that every time this character's on screen, I'm smiling. I'm not bored with this character whatsoever. And I hope that people can, after watching this movie, can go watch the show. God, I should dig, and me and Sam are on consensus on this. We do believe it's a well-made show. Yes, it has some issues with it and stuff, but the character, Mon Vellani is definitely perfect casting, and I do want to see more of her character. Monica Rambeau, Tiana Paris again. Definitely the black woman got the short end of the stick in this movie, like always.
Yeah.
And stuff, which is frustrating. But again, there's not one scene of Monica Rambeau where I'm thinking where I don't like this character. I'm not drawn to this character. I don't want to see her more. I want to see her more. So, and again, the only thing I add to that being a negative is the fact that that these were the only two characters I was going to see this movie, and when I walked out of it, these are the key two characters I was talking about. So,
as I've said before, it is a damn shame that they haven't given Brie Larson more to do with this Captain Marvel role.
It's a shame.
All you got to do is give her more. If you gave her more, she could destroy this role. She can add depth to this character that for some odd reason they are avoiding at all costs. Like, Brie's an amazing actress. I am confused why they don't give her more to do with this character. Instead, they want it to be just a bargain basement character. And you don't have a bargain basement actress. If you wanted her to do this, you should have hired Gal, who can't act her way out of a paper bag, to play Captain Marvel. But instead, you hired an Oscar winner to play this role. Because you should have loaded this character up with so much depth that it would have made they messed up first because they made her unlikable because they just made the character rough for no reason. This was their chance to correct any flaws you had with Iron Man should have been corrected with Captain Marvel. Because the level of actor for the MCU, it's her and then Robert Downey Jr. So it made no sense that they didn't do that with this character. And then they went right back down the path and decided to give her a sequel with everyone else in it instead of giving her a proper standalone sequel.
Yeah.
And then build up these other two characters, maybe in the season 2 of Miss Marvel. Maybe put Monica Rambeau in something else to build that character, and then you get to a Marvel storyline. But it feels like you rushed to this point when a Captain Marvel sequel is what you actually needed.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know what's the future for her character. I really don't know.
Brie may be like, "Fuck y'all, I'm done. I'm not doing anything else from the MCU."
You know what's crazy is, like, out of all the people, and I'm thinking this back in my mind, there was actually like a short list of people that I think could have pulled off Captain Marvel a little better than Brie Larson. And I always thought, I mean, shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's too late to say that now, but
yeah,
I don't know if Marvel is listening to the buzz feeds of the anti-Larson mob in the internet and in public, like because we all have the negative comments, or we've all had our takes on certain characters and villains or whatever. But I just wonder if they've been listening to the people that have been saying and knowing the fact that, hey, if she's in the movie, it'll tank. And I think people were like turning away from it.
I think I think you're making a point, Marcus. But I think the issue with that is that this is what happened when you listen to toxic fandom. Is the fact that when you do not know how to write a female character, the fact that again, I've seen great female characters throughout my days watching films and stuff. And it's not that difficult to do. It's the fact that you just, when you're overwhelmed thinking, oh, we got to make a female character strong, powerful, just write a good character. Anything that's the same template that you can use on a male character, you can use that on a female character, but the fact that you had that on top of your mind that you want to do the overkill, well, we want to market this the right way, so we don't want to make her too masculine, but we want to make her too feminine, and then it's a whole concept of just of difficulties of writing a modern day female character, let alone a superhero, right? And the fact that you listen to now in terms of toxic fandom, now it gets to a point where we're watching this movie and she's nerfed. And then I'm like, listen, not that I asked for her to be depowered. I asked for her to have good character development that backed her abilities and stuff. So when Captain Marvel showed up, it's like, oh, it's about to go down. Which the only moment I felt that was when in Avengers Endgame when she showed up. That was the only moment for me I felt for her where I was like, oh, I'm happy to see her when she came in and took down Thanos' ship when he was all that stuff. But that was your template of how to do Captain Marvel, but then you never ever capitalized it on since then. So it's like that's to me.
You can't.
I was wanting more.
You can't listen to men who can't get women on a woman character. It's always going to fail when you do that. They didn't like Brie because Brie is known to being an actress who speaks out for equality, and the more and more she spoke out against it, the more people hated her for it. But it had nothing to do with her.
That's not why she got the hate she got, though. That's not why she got the hate.
She got the hate she got.
She got the hate she got because of how she showed the ass of herself, and she didn't show her humbleness when she was sitting with the cast members of the Avengers. That's when she showed like.
Is that where you think it came from?
No. So
because because to be honest, it wasn't even just the step before that either.
No, but here's the thing: it's on. Because people want to take that interview during Avengers Endgame when Don Cheadle was on her left and Chris Hemsworth was on her right, and they're basically talking about who's the strongest.
It was Infinity War too, wasn't it?
It was Endgame because it was setting up that for her because she wasn't in Infinity War. So that was the press for that. So when she was talking about it, she's like, yes, I'm gonna be the strong character. I'm because I'm a woman and I'm gonna do this and blah blah. I can beat Thor. I can be any character I want. And yet you see Chris Hemsworth and Don Cheadle just sitting here like, whatever. And the internet literally just lost it over some dumb stuff. But it's like,
but the problem would be that was after Captain Marvel came out and they trashed that movie. That wasn't before. That had nothing to do with her hate. That was another excuse they came up with why they didn't like her. That hate started before Captain Marvel came out. So it had nothing to do with Endgame because we weren't even at Endgame when people started turning against Brie. It happened, and the interview is still on YouTube when she was talking about equality for women and naming companies, and this was before her movie came out. And then the tide turned, and then that's when she got the first Marvel movie that was ever review bombed to the point that Rotten Tomatoes had to suspend audience reaction reviews because they bombed it before the movie even came out. That's when it started. Because if you're going to say humble, let's get this right here. To be all honest, out of everybody on that stage at that point in time, Brie Larson was a better actor than everybody on that stage. She was Marvel's golden goose because she at that time was making more money, definitely than Don Cheadle, who makes little to nothing, and she was making more than Chris Hemsworth at that time. And Marvel's goal was that Captain Marvel was the big character. She wasn't speaking out of turn. She was literally telling them, and here's the weird part. People pay attention to their reaction in that moment. Please pay attention that they already knew that was what she was going to say. If you think Disney lets you go out there and free ball whenever you're at these conferences, I hate to tell people, I've been in them. They do not. Everything is scripted down to a T, down to the way the actors react to things. It is scripted. That was all planned to be that way because for Disney, Captain Marvel was supposed to be the big character. She was supposed to be the strongest thing. That's why in the first Captain Marvel, they made her power set ridiculous. And then they realized as people started rejecting, like, if she's this powerful, who the hell could ever compete with her? Then they made this movie where amazingly she has no power. It was in response to everything. So no, if you're telling me that people hated her before that, but they hated her when her movie came out, which was before Endgame came out, so that couldn't possibly be the reason that they turned against her. They turned against her way before then. Because one thing I have learned about people in comic books, you like women characters as long as they don't talk.
Ooh.
But the moment they open their damn mouth, these comic book dudes have issues with them because they loved Gal in the first Wonder Woman because you didn't hear her talk. Before that second Wonder Woman came out and she started opening her mouth more and more, they started disliking
the
her.
final battles. Yeah, and stuff.
Like,
I
they
wouldn't
do
say
not
that
like
though.
them talking.
That's a little too like excessive and extreme though to make that assumption
Really?
or that.
Star
But
Wars.
I'm just gonna say
Daisy
real
Ridley,
quick. But I'm just gonna
Rhodes.
say, when it comes to, because I know a lot of people say, oh, just because she won an Oscar, she automatically makes the list. But we know plenty of actors or actresses that were nominated and they didn't win, but they should have won. Because if we're gonna say that excuse, then by definition, let me ask you this, Lucas: do you think Leonardo DiCaprio, even though he's only won one Oscar, but he was nominated for several others, don't you believe he should have won the other ones?
No. Actually, I'll tell you
No?
this much: he shouldn't have won the one he got.
For all the list of the great ones that we've had.
I could name every movie that he's ever been in, and I could name you an actor that rightfully beat him out. Definitely for when he won for The Revenant, should have beat him out. Never mistake that you get lots of nominations to make you think your performance is the best of the year. It is rarely the case. One of the few cases I've seen where I thought the performance was the best of the year is when she won for Room. I thought Jacob should have also won for Room for Best Actor.
Not
she should have won Best Actress. That's one of the few times. Normally with Oscars, it goes to the most popular person. Leo got his Oscar for The Revenant because he was popular, not because that was the best.
It's also because of the fact that it was due time, because of the fact he deserved more Oscars than that, though.
I always ask people when they say
he always deserved like at least
Oscars,
a good solid 4.
For what movies? Because
one of them was The Departed. One of them was The Departed. He should have definitely won that.
When he wasn't even the third best actor in that movie.
He was actually the number one.
The Departed?
He was the number one best actor in that movie.
No. Jack Nicholson made The Departed. Mark Wahlberg made The Departed.
You can make an argument for him for Jack being number 2. But I will say this
there's no number 2.
The Wolf of Wall Street was another one that I believe should have won. Many did.
See, but that I'll put it like this.
And then on top of that,
do you remember
on top of that too? You also got to remember the movies, like whether it was, and I'm just using this example just to the fact that just because she got it doesn't mean all of a sudden we got to pedestalize her either.
But also at the same time, because you think about it, but Robert to be fair, everybody finds a reason to discredit her.
I'm about to say, yeah, because
honestly, I remember her from watching her when she was in 21 Jump Street, even a little bit before that, if that.
I'm about to say, yeah.
And then I remember some of the movies after that too, but that was about it.
Here's the thing. For me, it's not just that she won an Oscar. It's the point that I've seen her roles. I've seen them other people roles. Samuel Jackson does a lot of movies. That don't mean he's good in it. Actually, 80% of his movies are bad. But he does so many of them, most people would never see 80% of Samuel L. Jackson's movies. So you wouldn't know which ones are bad. Robert Downey Jr. was great at first. Chaplin is his best role. That was in 93, I want to say.
93.
Yeah, 93, somewhere around that time. And then he had to rebound himself. Kiss, Kiss, Bang, Bang. Another great performance by him. But he's not known as in that person who can always deliver great performances. One thing that made him special as Iron Man is he literally played himself. And it worked for him.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Is like a lot of people think just because they think that when Robert Downey Jr. did Iron Man, that brought back his career. If you go back a year before that in the Zodiac, I think that is what brought back his career. A lot of people forget that movie, but that was when he played the writer in that time at the moment for the newspaper he was playing for in that character role for Zodiac, that came out in 2007 with Jake Gyllenhaal, and then Mark Ruffalo in that movie. So I think that was the movie that I think ultimately brought him back, and then Iron Man clearly surplus him back.
Iron Man was the blockbuster.
Yeah, that was there you go.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang Zodiac would have brought him back as a character actor. Iron Man brought him back as a movie star. It made him a movie star. Not even brought him back because Robert was never a movie star before Iron Man. Iron Man made him a movie star. Granted, since Iron Man, he's proven that he can't sustain as a movie star, but that's fine because he doesn't have to, because that's not what he was ever supposed to be. He was always just a good character actor and he knew his role. But again, for me with Brie did what Scarlett Johansson did. And it's something that women do when they get into the MCU. They literally have to downplay themselves to however these characters are written. Like, how many people know that Scarlett Johansson was a 2-time Oscar nominee before she took on the role of Black Widow? I know, because I know the movies that she was fucking phenomenal in. And then I saw her in this role and I was like, wow, they really not giving you anything to work with, huh? But it's a movie that allows her to do other movies. And that's the way Marvel treats women characters, unfortunately. I've had discussions with other people, me, Sam, all of us have had talks. Marvel does not know how to write a woman character. And they haven't learned how to write one yet. They're trying their best to get to writing one that's good. And it's trial and error for them right now because they don't know what makes a good woman character tick. They can do good in the teenage girl characters because that's what Disney does well. You can bring a Disney writer in and say, hey, write me a good teenage female character. You can do that. But when it comes to women characters, they struggle. And all of them fall for the same tropes over and over and over again because they don't know how to properly write them. And you have too many overly talented actresses in the MCU for you not to get this corrected immediately. Unfortunately, you've lost 2 of them. Scarlett is done at this point, and I'm almost assuming Brie is done at this point. So now you're stuck of having to do or duplicate this. Especially, you got to fix it before you get to the X-Men. Because I'll be damned if you don't write a strong woman character with them.
I'm definitely through y'all with that. But just to end it off, I just want to get everybody final thoughts on this because with the Marvels, it now officially been tracked to be like one of the lowest openings for Marvel film. But yes, it had a lot of things going against it. But I just want to get to everybody's final thoughts in just terms of the general consensus on the film and also just moving forward with an MCU. And then we just end off with there. I'll start with Marcus.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the Marvels was, Kamala Khan was probably the best thing, and the post-credit scene and the fact the movie was over, people could actually leave and walk out and stretch their legs.
Yep.
And Samuel L. Jackson, I think, he deserves a little credit for being in that too, because it's funny how Jedi said, hey, he was better off in this movie than he was in his own show for 6 episodes, which is sad. And then Loki. I just wanted to give a quick sentence to just, hey, Loki, the way it ended was perfect. I don't know if you guys covered that. Yggdrasil, just the references and anybody that knows what Loki meant in that moment, and for just the Marvel fans, anybody who understands that, the culmination of everything from the very first Thor when he's hanging from the Bifrost Bridge before he falls, talking to Odin, and saying, "I did it for both of us. I did it for all of us, whatever." And just that full circle. I don't think it's the last time we'll see of Loki. I think that eventually we will. I'm just glad that Kelsey Grammer was back. But they could have done a little better on the CGI. They could have, or made it a little practical, because I did like the practical effects when they made it. I didn't think there was anything wrong with the practical makeup of him as Beast, but if there's a certain look you're going for, I understand, but make it in the practical sense then. Add some gray hairs or some shit. I don't know, to the goatee and the whiskers. Yeah. Other than that, I'm stay tuned for other stuff. That's it. And also, don't worry, it's gonna be all right. I still think there's some hope left. There's some things they can clean up. They can make better. And if they fire Brie Larson, it's all right. There's other actresses there that can fill her role. Or just King, Doctor Doom. Let's hope. It's fine. Hey, Robert Downey Jr., I know you're hearing this maybe eventually. Come back. Chris Evans, come back. Ghost Rider, make an appearance. Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, make an appearance. It's all right. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's masculinity, there's femininity, and there's toxic ass people.
Thank you, Marcus. Thank you. He said, Lucas.
You're welcome.
Well, Marvel, Disney, this is your time to be brave, Disney, and make a decision that everyone knows you should make, and just rip the Band-Aid off and make it. And tell Mr. Feige that in name, you could be the person over Marvel. Over stories, we're going to bring someone else to take care of this stuff. Because that's the issue right now. You've done it for 30 films. No one can do it for this longer period of time and not be replaced. There's no such thing as you being great forever. You got to understand, as we do in sports all the time, no matter how great your team is, no matter how great of a coach you are, it comes a point in time where your voice is no longer listened to. And Kevin is at the point where his voice is no longer listened to. And I'm going to say, in Hollywood circles, his voice is no longer respected. So you need to hire someone else. It's got to be an up-and-coming person that was behind him that can take the reins now, step in, and help correct this universe. Because if you don't, you got 2 years. You are on the clock. After those 2 years are up, your universe is up. And I know people want to have faith. You have as much faith as you want to. I'll point to the numbers to show you why your faith is misguided. I can tell you, you love Loki, or Mike, who loves Ms. Marvel. He's one of the 6 people who watch the show. You could love these things, right? But if the viewership isn't there, it doesn't matter how much you love it. It doesn't even matter how good the product is if the viewership is not there. Loki falls under the same trope that we hear all the time of, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's around to hear it, doesn't make a noise. In terms of Loki, if a good show drops and no one watches it, does it matter? No. Like Loki lost 40% viewership from season 1 to season 2. And that 40% had nothing to do with the quality of the show. It had the quality of the product, which helped reduce its audience, which means the people at the top are the people who you need to look at replacing. So if you're going to correct this, if you're going to correct your universe, start at the top. That's the best way to do it. Let Kevin oversee some stuff, but you need to bring in young, fresh voice that appeals to Generation Z. Kevin is damn near a baby boomer. You need to bring in somebody who's going to appeal to a younger audience and listen to them for the way that they like these characters to interact with one another, how they like these characters to move, how they like these characters to sound. If you keep on resting on this older gentleman to do it for you, you're going to look up in a couple of years and Marvel's going to be non-existent again. So correct it now before you turn into a Western that no one cares about, no matter how great of a product you put out.
Right. Thank you, Lucas. Thank you. Also, I had to talk to you before I went on this show. J. King, what was your final words?
I mean, I don't really got anything, so. I don't. I'm serious. I don't have anything, so. I liked both Loki and the Marvels. That's it. Still enjoyed them. Still will enjoy them. It's okay.
Where can the people find you?
All right, now you're being petty, yo.
Just here.
All right, cool. All right. Thank you, Mickey. Thank you. Yes, and for me,
Jedi, you ain't shit. You know that? You ain't shit.
No. I like to give voices to young black men, and and let them speak their mind. So I do not mute nobody up in here. So no, and nobody. Yeah. So of all opinions and all different backgrounds. So yes. But anyway, I'll just say again with this film, I did say that after watching the second viewing and now converting my expectations of it, I do believe this is an entertaining film for some people. That like to me, this is 10 times. I do believe this film is way entertaining than the first film, and I do believe that that there are people that if you just want to just watch a good popcorn flick and stuff and not expecting a big great bending movie that we've gotten in recent like or in the past of Marvel Studios, then just go watch this film for what it is. I will say this too. Also, this is the first Nia DaCosta is the first black woman to ever direct a Marvel movie, and she got pulled through the ringer on this. Anyway, supporting this film in way, please go do that. And any terms of black creators, from writers, from directors or actors as well, please go support that. And I understand that also some of the issues you might have with this movie is not even from her, but from studio interference. And also with that, I know she received some backlash from this moving different projects and stuff like that. Again, Loki is the GOAT, honestly, but where we see next in terms of ramifications of this show and hopefully taking the great writing of this show and putting it into the movies and and care of a character and put that in the movies, and hopefully we can turn some things around. But yeah, again, love Miss Marvel, love Mock and Rambo, I love them. I will see you guys in the next video. Make sure you guys hit notification bell, and we'll be up to date on uploads coming up. Got some interviews posting on that, also on Team JBS as well later this week. So make sure you guys check out their channel as well. Seeing Hunger Games tomorrow, y'all, the prequel. So I'll give you a review for that. Yeah, and again, what was it? To Kevin Feige. The only last thing that you guys say is that
I am sick. I am sick of your shit. And when I'm not sick, I'm tired. I am sick and tired.
Yeah, and then I'll just put a pin on that. All right, peace, y'all. Peace, chicken grease.
Is there anything you want the fans to know or any last thing you want to say to them before we get to see this series tonight?
This is where the fun begins.